Chapter 755. Mu Ran took out a healing ointment and applied it on Tang Wei's arm. Tang Wei bit her lips tightly, seeming to be in pain. "Bear with it, it is a bit painful," Mu Ran said lightly. Tang Wei nodded her head, her performance was on point. After a long while, the ointment was done, and Tang Wei stood up. "Miss, thank you, there isn't much time left, I will go and do my work first." Mu Ran took a look at Tang Wei and said lightly, "You can stay by my side for this month." "Ah!" Tang Wei cried out in surprise, appearing to be a bit panicked. There are some things that cannot be taken the initiative and must wait for Mu Ran to bring it up herself. Tang Wei grasped this point very well. "That servant girl was chased away by me, she needs someone to serve her. I'm afraid that I won't be able to do it well." Tang Wei seemed to be lacking in confidence, which suited her character very well. Mu Ran squeezed out a trace of a smile. "Just slowly learn. Is it really possible, young miss?" Tang Wei asked with a terrified expression. "This is really deceiving someone to death." Mu Ran nodded her head. Tang Wei finally revealed a smile. "The plan is slowly progressing. Right now, Gouda Principality also released a piece of news, that was Mu Ran being promoted to Saintess. At the same time, it also meant that Mu Ran was now a Heaven's Law doer. However, the matter of marriage was not mentioned. After all, they were still afraid of Tianliang sect. However, at this moment, Gouda Principality was in an uproar. Heaven's Law doer. That is a talent that is hard to come by in 100 years. For such a talent to actually appear in Gouda Principality, that is a blessing. In the future, she will also become an overlord existence. The entire Gouda Principality entered into a festive atmosphere. Right now, in the king's study room, Ding Wenba had an audience. "Your Majesty, the matter of the Saintess is very thorny. I think that your Majesty needs to think carefully." Ding Wenba stood at the side and said respectfully. Feng Yongzhang was currently practicing calligraphy, and asked faintly, "How thorny?" "Your Majesty, Tianliang sect will definitely not let go of the Saintess. After all, a Heaven's Law doer is hard to come by in 100 years. If your Majesty forcefully arranged this marriage, and the Saintess goes back and whispers a few words, I'm afraid that our gains will not make up for our losses." For his own benefits, Ding Wenba was doing his utmost to harm Mu Ran. Feng Yongzhang stopped the brush in his hand and lightly placed it at the side, then walked to the side and sat down. He blew on the tea and took a sip. "Mu Ran is my Emperor's Law doer. That is also mine." Hearing this, Ding Wenba was overjoyed. It seemed that the king did not intend to let Mu Ran go, even if it meant obtaining a corpse. How ruthless. "Let's see what happens tonight," Feng Yongzhang said softly. He seemed to have rested well and walked to the side to practice his calligraphy again. Ding Bowen bowed and retreated. After watching Ding Wenba leave, Feng Yongzhang smashed the pen in his hand on the white paper. "Mu Ran, don't force this emperor," Feng Yongzhang muttered in a low voice. In a corner of the palace, the fourth prince, Feng Yun, was sitting on a stone bench, looking at a potted plant in front of him, as if waiting for the flower to bloom. It had to be said that Feng Yun was still handsome and had an imposing appearance. There was a steady aura between his brows, and he was very manly. "Congratulations, Your Royal Highness, the fourth prince." A eunuch suddenly ran over and knelt down. "What's there to be happy about?" Feng Yun asked lightly. "Your Highness, the ghost talent, Mu Ran, has been conferred the title of Saintess by His Majesty. Her strength has even reached Heavenly Law Doja, and His Majesty has also expressed his intention to marry the Saintess to Your Highness." After hearing this, Feng Yun's expression changed, but it was not a happy expression. It seemed that he was worried about something. "All right, I understand. You can leave first." The eunuch was very confused. Why did His Highness not react to such a joyous event? Could it be that he did not like the Saintess? That shouldn't be the case. It was not that Feng Yun did not like the Saintess, but because he was not a local at all. It had been 18 years since he transmigrated here. This was his biggest secret. He had even obtained a summoning system that could summon virtuous generals. Although he had not summoned one yet, he would be able to do so soon. He did not think that his father would actually want the ghost talent to marry him. This secret could not be kept. It would not be good for that woman to know. After all, he was someone who was going to stir up a storm. How can I stop my footsteps because of a woman? A transmigrator like me will definitely receive the favor of beautiful women. Even if I don't go and look for a beautiful woman, there will still be beautiful women who will throw themselves at me. Just like this Muran, this is a very normal beginning. I should first see if this Muran is worthy of trust or not. After all, I am going to be a man with a very high status in the future, the woman beside me naturally cannot be too weak. However, thinking about it, this Muran is also not a flower vase. I am only a heavenly law dojo with the help of the system, and even without, she still reached heavenly law dojo. From this, it can be seen that she is a very powerful woman. This kind of woman is a little hard to hold on to. If I manage to get my hands on her, she would be a great helper for me. I should first see if she has the qualifications or not. Right now, Wei Chang was naturally very happy. Tang Wei finally managed to sneak in today, and at the same time, he also found out that this Muran is a heavenly law dojo. Why didn't I see it before? Because, Wei Chang felt that it is about the same, because heavenly law dojo is still too weak. As for Tang Wei's suggestion, Wei Chang will report it to his honor. Right now, Yi Hua was really lying in his sister-in-law's embrace, and Qing Yutong was happily peeling grapes for her brother-in-law, then sending the grapes into her brother-in-law's mouth. Wei Chang, are you saying that this girl called Muran can be of use to me? Yi Hua said to Wei Chang through sound transmission. Wei Chang said respectfully, reporting to your honor, from the current situation, this girl is indeed talented, and she has a lot of experience in the way of governing a country. Yi Hua ate the grapes that Qing Yutong peeled. What I need is loyalty. Can this girl called Muran be loyal? You should know the answer in your heart. Thus, Xiao Tang gave a suggestion, and subordinate would like to report it to his honor. Speak. Hearing Wei Chang's suggestion, Yi Hua slowly stood up. You are saying to have Blue Sky Hong go over? That's right, Blue Sky Hong will be able to help out a bit. If something happens, that would be even better. After all, a knot in one's heart needs to be undone. Let me consider for a bit. Yi Hua said lightly. Yes. Cutting off sound transmission with Wei Chang, Yi Hua lightly tapped on the bed with his index finger. Brother-in-law, what are you feeling vexed about? Qing Yutong obediently sat behind Yi Hua, and her pair of slender hands lightly helped Yi Hua relieve some of the pressure he was feeling. Yutong, how do you think Blue Sky Hong's knot should be undone? Yi Hua asked curiously. This was also for the sake of the harmony in the team. Right now, Blue Sky Hong might seem normal, but Yi Hua's eyes just can't tolerate a single grain of sand, and he hopes to see every single one of his subordinates being happy from the bottom of their hearts. Qing Yutong suddenly hugged onto Yi Hua and kissed him. Of course, it should start from a new relationship. Yi Hua laughed. With Blue Sky Hong's personality, who would like her? Chapter 756. Yi Hua felt that what Qing Yutong said was a bit reasonable. I will go out for a while first. So fast? Brother-in-law, why don't you spend more time with Yutong? Yi Hua pinched onto Qing Yutong's face. I will come over to accompany you in the afternoon. Brother-in-law, you can go and busy yourself. Yutong will wait for you. Yutong, you're still the most obedient. Hee, of course, so brother-in-law, you have to treat Yutong well, yes. Yi Hua nodded his head. After the message was sent to the room, Qing Yutong happily hugged onto the quilt and rolled around on the bed. Being together with brother-in-law is so comfortable. Right now, Yi Hua was naturally going to look for Kai Yun to understand the situation. Subordinate pays respect to your honor. Right now, Kai Yun was the inspector of Voidless Empire. The department he had set up was called South Wuchi, and it was in charge of all matters within the city. Yi Hua raised his hand and asked, what about Sky Red? Your Honor, I'm going out to do my duty. Kai Hong poured a cup of hot tea over, and Yi Hua took the cup and took a sip. Kai Yun, how has Red Blue Skies been doing lately? Behavior? That's normal, I guess. He likes to wear masks. Yi Hua said confusedly, wearing a mask. What do you mean by normal? It's just an old habit of mine, I'm afraid of scaring others by wearing a mask. Sure enough, he didn't like looking at any woman. He had a serious desire for revenge. This was a mental illness that needed treatment. If it continued to develop in the long run, something bad would happen. Kai Yun, do you think Blue Sky Red will accept a new relationship? After Kai Yun heard this, he pondered for a long time, then said respectfully, Your Honor, I'm afraid it will be very difficult. Sure enough, Kai Yun's thoughts were exactly the same as his main body's. This kind of man who was hurt by love was very hard to cure. Let nature take its course. Yi Hua said faintly. Kai Yun nodded. Right now, Tsang Konghong did not trust women and was traumatized. I'll have Tsang Hong help Wei Chong and the others in a while. Tell him to get ready. Yes. Your Honor. Yi Hua no longer harbored any hope. I'll just have to see how heavens will arrange his things for me. It would be good if there was a result, but if there was no result, then forget it. As for this girl named Mu Ran, whether or not she could be used by me would depend on her luck. Night gradually fell in the Gouda Duchy. Tonight was a national celebration. The king had invited his ministers to a banquet in the palace to congratulate Mu Ran on becoming a heavenly law-doer. Instead of saying that it was a blind date, it would be better to let the fourth prince, Feng Yun, and Mu Ran interact a little. As the saintess, Mu Ran sat at the bottom right of Feng Yongzhang. This was a very powerful seat, but Mu Ran didn't feel anything. Everything she did was for the common people. The fourth prince, Feng Yun, was sitting beside Mu Ran. From time to time, he would take a sip of wine while observing Mu Ran from the corner of his eyes. I didn't expect that after not seeing you for 3 years, you'd shed that immature appearance and become more like a woman. Only this kind of appearance is worthy of a transmigrator like me. But if you want to become the first lady, it will depend on your ability to arouse this prince's interest. Mu Ran completely ignored Feng Yun, who was beside her. She didn't like this kind of marriage in the first place, so how could she take the initiative to speak? Everyone knew the purpose of this banquet. When Feng Yongzhang saw the saintess's attitude, he felt a little uncomfortable. This was like a child that he brought up suddenly became successful and didn't put him in his eyes. Mu Ran vividly played the role of a great master, and Feng Yongzhang didn't want Mu Ran to be better than him. Ding Wenba was very happy to see such a scene. The more the saintess didn't give him face, the angrier his majesty would be. It was normal for him to find someone to assassinate her. Saintess, is this dish not to your taste? Feng Yongzhang asked. She hadn't eaten a bite since she sat down. It was obvious that she was giving him a hard time. Mu Ran smiled, Your Majesty, I've been fasting recently, so I can't enjoy the food Your Majesty has bestowed. When everyone heard the saintess's words, they sighed in their hearts. It was rare to see such an amazing woman. She was smart, and with just one sentence, she made His Majesty lose his temper. Feng Yun, who was sitting next to her, also sighed. As expected of a genius, she had a sharp tongue. Is that so? That's because I didn't think it through. Feng Yongzhang chuckled. Your Majesty is busy every day, it's a blessing for the common people. There was nothing wrong with Mu Ran's reply. If Mu Ran was just an ordinary warrior, perhaps Feng Yongzhang would be happier. The main point was the heavenly Tao. Feng Yongzhang laughed, Yun, take the saintess for a walk. Yes. Feng Yun stood up and said respectfully. Mu Ran stood up and followed Feng Yun with graceful steps. Feng Yongzhang looked pensive as he watched the two leave. At this moment, Feng Yun was walking in front, and Mu Ran slowly followed behind. The two of them maintained a distance of 3 meters. The nights in northern Liang were usually cold, and the temperature difference between day and night was very big. However, Muran was still wearing a white dress today, and it looked very light. Feng Yun naturally saw it and thought that Muran wouldn't be stupid enough to wear so little. She was definitely giving him a chance. She was indeed a scheming woman. Was she so eager to climb into his bed? Then let me test her. She would definitely reject me. She must be playing hard to get. Feng Yun stopped and took off the velvet shawl from his shoulders. He said softly, Muran, it's cold at night. Muran said respectfully, Fourth Prince, there is no need. Fourth Prince, please take care of yourself and serve His Majesty in the future. What did she say? I knew you would reject me, and then you lured my curiosity out. I've seen too many overbearing presidents. Since you don't want it, this prince will wear it myself. Muran didn't say anything and continued to follow behind Feng Yun. Muran, what do you think about the marriage? Feng Yun couldn't help but ask. He had lost to this woman in terms of patience. Muran said softly, it's all up to you. Feng Yun sneered in his heart. In the future, he would definitely become the king and sweep through northern Liang. He would even sweep through Tianliang's sect and a larger territory. You little girl, you are still playing dumb with this prince. Could it be that if imperial father were to marry a beggar on the street, would you agree? If necessary, Muran said softly. Her face didn't change at all. Pretentious. This was a woman who liked to be pretentious. She was a scheming bitch. If she knew his secret, she would shamelessly threaten him. Fortunately, he was smart. Let me send you back. There is no need to trouble your Royal Highness. I can go back by myself. Hee, all right then. Be careful on the road. Muran watched as Feng Yun left. His last sentence obviously had a different meaning. Was he threatening me? Or was he trying to express something else? Was it the king? Muran took a deep breath. She felt that she couldn't breathe here. Mississippi, Tang Wei was waiting outside the palace. When she saw Muran coming out, she took out a velvet shawl and draped it over Muran. Chapter 757. Miss, what are you talking about? It is my duty to serve you. Tang Wei set up the stool. Muran stepped on the stool and boarded the carriage. Tang Wei followed closely behind. Sitting in the carriage, Tang Wei curiously asked, Miss, you are now under one person and above tens of thousands of people. Why are you still frowning? Fame is just a worldly possession. There are many things that you can't do anything about. Muran sighed. Compared to this place, Tianliang sect seemed to be better. Miss, what you said is too profound. I don't understand. Tang Wei expressed that she was new and cute and had a confused expression on her face. Muran chuckled and said, You'll understand later. Tang Wei nodded and walked back without saying a word. Half a month's time passed in the blink of an eye. Tang Wei and Muran had also gradually become familiar with each other. This was good news. Song Konghong had also quietly entered the city and was waiting for orders. However, Song Konghong was completely unaware of her true mission. Ever since the last time when Muran went to the Imperial Palace, she had not gone back to the Imperial Palace for half a month. Everything seemed to have returned back to normal, but Muran didn't think so. Everything was too peaceful. At the Mu family, Tang Wei was currently grinding ink for Muran. She said softly, Miss, I recently have a cousin who also entered the city. N? Muran slightly raised his head, seemingly thinking that Tang Wei wanted him to help her cousin. That cousin of mine wants me to go back with him. Tang Wei paused for a moment, seemingly unwilling to part with Tang Wei. What a woman who knows how to act. Go back. Lingtai Nation? Muran asked curiously. Tang Wei nodded her head. My cousin told me that Lingtai Kingdom has changed completely. A new emperor has appeared, and the people there are living very well. Their safety is guaranteed, and they have ample food and clothing. How is this possible? How could the Lingtai kingdom survive without the protection of the Gouda principality? Mu Ren exclaimed in disbelief. Tang Wei was also puzzled. Yeah, when my husband and I came out, that place was already on the verge of destruction. This time, my cousin said that that place is completely new. Where is your cousin now? Mu Ren felt that it was necessary to ask about the situation. After all, she had a deep memory of the Lingtai kingdom, and she wanted to know what had happened there. At an inn in the east of the city. Take me to see him. Mu Ren stood up, seemingly in a hurry. Seeing Mu Ran's expression, Tang Wei felt relieved. After arranging the carriage, Tang Wei brought Mu Ran to the east side of the city. Blue Sky Hong was already in position. After quite a while, the carriage stopped at the side of an ordinary inn. Tang Wei helped Mu Ran down from the carriage and said lightly, "Miss, that cousin of mine is a mute, and his appearance is a bit, so he is wearing a mask." "It's okay," Mu Ran said softly. She didn't care about these things. Tang Wei was delighted in her heart. It seemed like Mu Ran was not obsessed with appearance. This was a good thing. The two of them walked into an ordinary inn, and when everyone saw Mu Ran, the holy maiden, they all knelt on the ground and showed expressions of worship. On the second floor, Tang Wei pushed open a door. "Miss, it's here." Mu Ran nodded her head and walked into the room. The room was very ordinary. There was only a bed, a table, and also 4 old wooden stools. At this moment, Zhang Konghong was standing on the balcony outside. His tall and broad body had his back facing the two of them as he looked in the direction of the Voidless Empire, giving off the feeling that he was missing someone. From this back view, it could be seen that this was a man with a story. Mu Ran paused for a moment. This is Tang Wei's cousin. Why does he look so different? The aura that this back view is giving off feels even fiercer than Master. Zhang Konghong, who was currently missing someone, didn't seem to have noticed that the two of them had entered the room, and he acted just like how he usually acted. However, even if he acted just like how he usually acted, ordinary people wouldn't be able to accept it, even the current Mu Ran. Tang Wei scolded inwardly. If Zhang Konghong was acting cool, it would be understandable. After all, this back view of Zhang Konghong is indeed very charming. However, this Zhang Konghong is missing Yu Hua. To not even notice that the two of us have entered the room, his acting skills aren't up to standard at all. Zhang Konghong didn't know how to act in the first place. Cough, cough, cough. Tang Wei coughed lightly. Zhang Konghong finally came back to his senses. A few days ago, he received his honor's order to come over and take charge of protecting a person. Furthermore, he had to listen to Wei Chang's arrangements. And the person that he was protecting was about to meet with him today. Zhang Konghong turned around, and a very ordinary iron mask could be seen on his face. The iron mask gave off a very heavy feeling. Ignoring the iron mask, it was a very masculine figure. Zhang Konghong's clothes weren't that strict, and his chest was completely exposed. His muscles that looked like they were sculpted by a ghost axe were filled with explosive strength. Every single muscle was so well proportioned, and that bronze-colored skin of his gave off an even more masculine charm. This caused Mu Ran to feel a bit embarrassed. After all, no one would dress like this, wrapping themselves up tightly. Furthermore, this person's overall temperament is very strange. Is this person really Tang Wei's cousin? Young miss, because this cousin of mine doesn't know how to speak, and because he doesn't look good, his personality is a bit unsociable. Tang Wei hurriedly explained. Hearing Tang Wei's explanation, Mu Ran felt slightly relieved. Mu Ran was able to understand why a person like Zhang Konghong would act so indifferently towards others in order to protect himself. Zhang Konghong also saw the person that he was protecting, but he didn't say anything. In Zhang Konghong's eyes, Mu Ran was no different from a pink skeleton. Furthermore, Mu Ran's height was only 1.62 meters, while Zhang Konghong was 2 meters tall. This was simply the cutest height difference. Very quickly, Mu Ran calmed down, Tang Wei, I want to ask your cousin about the matters regarding Lingtai Kingdom. All right. Tang Wei nodded her head, then said to Tsang Konghong, Tsang Konghong, this is young miss, she wants to ask you about the matters regarding Lingtai Kingdom. Tsang Konghong nodded her head, then picked up a pen and paper and started writing according to Wei Chang's script. Mu Ran quietly waited for Tsang Konghong to write, appearing to be very patient. After Tsang Konghong finished writing, Tsang Konghong passed the paper to Mu Ran. After Mu Ran saw the contents of the paper, her beautiful eyes froze. Right now, Lingtai Kingdom can no longer be called Lingtai Kingdom, it has been renamed to Wushu Kingdom. To actually change its name to Kingdom, isn't this challenging the authority of Gouda Principality? Mu Ran looked at Tsang Konghong and asked, what is the current situation regarding Wushu Kingdom? Tsang Konghong continued writing. After Tsang Konghong finished writing, Mu Ran's brows tightly knitted together. The kingdom is prosperous and the people are at peace, and the kingdom has even expanded its borders. Are they courting death? If His Majesty were to hear about this matter, something bad would definitely happen. Just what kind of people are controlling Lingtai Kingdom right now? Mu Ran felt that she had to go back and properly ponder over this matter. Tang Wei, you can't be thinking of going back right now, right? Tang Wei looked at Tsang Konghong. Mu Ran seemed to have understood what Tang Wei meant. How about this, you let cousin come to the residence and work together with Wei Chang, what do you think? Chapter 758. Why are you standing there like a fool? Hurry up and thank Mississippi, as the saying goes, acting must be done properly. Tsang Konghong nodded her head, expressing her gratitude. However, Mu Ran still had a lot of things that she needed to understand, so she kept asking Tsang Konghong questions along the way, inquiring about the current situation of Wushu Empire. Just after returning to the Mu residence, Mu Ran looked towards a stranger. If she remembered correctly, he should be the royal family that escaped from Lingtai Kingdom. Xia Yu. Xia Yu seemed to be discussing something with her father. Mu Ran let Tang Wei bring Tsang Konghong to rest first, then walked into the hall. Father. Mu Ran greeted respectfully. Xia Yu, who was sitting at the side, directly kneeled down and shouted with a pleading tone, Saintess, Lingtai Kingdom still needs you. Mu Ran immediately took a look at her father. Mu Angua didn't say anything. Stand up and talk. Mu Ran said gently. Thank you, Saintess. Xia Yu stood up and said with a pitiful look, Saintess, I wonder if you have heard of Wushu Empire, the previous Lingtai Kingdom. Wushu Empire? Mu Ran acted as if she had just heard about it, wanting to see what Xia Yu wanted to say. Saintess, I hope that Saintess can help us. Right now, a group of people is occupying Lingtai Kingdom and even changed the name of the kingdom to an empire. This is clearly disrespecting His Majesty. Mu Ran finally understood. This Xia Yu saw that Lingtai Kingdom was revived and wanted to snatch it back. He is truly a man who knows how to sail with the wind. Back then, when Lingtai Kingdom was threatened, why didn't you act like this? You even escaped. How did you know about this? Mu Ran asked curiously. Xia Yu said respectfully, this news has been spreading on the streets for a few days, Saintess naturally wouldn't know about it. Mu Ran looked towards her father, why didn't he tell me about this? Mu Angua was afraid that his daughter would offend His Majesty for Lingtai Kingdom, causing His Majesty to ignore him. Xia Yu, don't worry, I will report this matter to His Majesty. Thank you so much. Xia Yu hurriedly kneeled down, truly sincere. Hearing Mu Angua's reply, Xia Yu felt relieved and left for the time being. Father, why are you helping him? Mu Ran asked curiously. Her father's actions were very strange. Father isn't helping him, I'm helping you. Help me? Mu Ran was confused. Mu Angua nodded. His Majesty's attitude towards you is getting worse. You need a beautiful battle to win back His Majesty's trust. Father. You want me to bring troops to attack Voidless Empire? Mu Ran was startled for a moment. Her father's idea was truly terrifying. Muangwa didn't deny it. Mu Ran, I know that you often defended Ling Tai country in the past, but you have to know that Ling Tai country has now become voidless empire. Even if you don't go, His Majesty will still send someone else. Do you understand? This is an unavoidable battle. Mu Ran didn't expect the news to spread so quickly. What should she do? If the two sides really fought, the ones who would die would be the commoners. Mu Ran didn't say anything. I feel that my father has changed a bit. In the past, my father had always supported me, but now, my father actually wants me to lead the army to attack an affiliated country. No, it was invasion, because the Gouda Principality had long expelled the Lingtai Principality from being a vassal state. If that was the case, there was no reason for the Gouda Principality to send troops. The one who spread the news was naturally Wei Chang. After all, it was about time for the Gouda Principality to act, and it would be up to how the Holy Maiden would act. His Honor was waiting to see how the Holy Maiden would act as a test to enter the team. For the entire afternoon, Tang Wei accompanied Mu Ran. Putting aside the fact that Mu Ran was lying, Tang Wei felt that Mu Ran was a good girl, just that, Mu Ran was too worried. Mu Ran had always been thinking about problems from other people's point of view, abandoning her own point of view. If this goes on, Mu Ran will definitely hurt herself. Young miss, you should eat something, you didn't even eat lunch. Tang Wei said in a low voice. I can't eat. Mu Ran said faintly. I want to go and see what exactly happened to Ling Tai country, what kind of huge change happened to Ling Tai country, and whether or not the rumors are true. Tang Wei discovered that when she was already so old, she was still concerned about the affairs of the country. The curtain of night gradually descended, and Muangwa could be seen shouting from outside, Ran, His Majesty is holding an emergency meeting. Mu Ran opened her beautiful eyes. Seems like His Majesty is going to make a move. Father, I understand. After changing their clothes, Tang Wei accompanied Mu Ran and walked out of the house. Just when they walked out of the house, Mu Ran saw Tsang Konghong who was leading a horse. Young miss, most of the things in the residence have already been taken care of, so I asked him to come over and be a coachman. Tang Wei explained. That's fine too. Young miss, you can be at ease, this cousin of mine has also cultivated before, and he is even a doer. Tang Wei said with a smile. No wonder, so he is a doer. Get on the carriage first. All right, young miss. Very soon, the carriage arrived at the entrance of the imperial palace. The father and daughter got off the carriage and walked into the imperial palace. Tang Wei and Tsang Konghong were waiting outside. I wonder what will be the result of their discussion today. Will they directly start the war? Will the one leading the army be Mu Ran? Right now, Tang Wei was a bit worried about Mu Ran. If Mu Ran really went to the imperial palace, other than her, everyone else would have died in that snowfield. Will Mu Ran be able to accept such a blow? Looking at that petite back view of Mu Ran, the burden on her shoulders is too much. Girls at this age should just talk about love and enjoy the care and concern of their boyfriends, but for me, different times create different people. The father and daughter walked into the palace, and on the way, they did not speak a single word. From the looks of it, they had a disagreement. Following Feng Yongzhang's arrival, everyone kneeled down and shouted, Long live your majesty. My beloved subjects, please rise. Feng Yongzhang said gravely. Thank you, your majesty. The reason why I called all of you here tonight is because my spies have already verified the rumors. Speaking up to here, Feng Yongzhang paused for a moment, and the atmosphere immediately became tense. Wushu Empire does indeed exist. Hearing what His Majesty said, everyone's expression sunk. This is a provocation. To actually establish an empire. Feng Yongzhang slammed onto the armrest of his throne, this Wushu Empire sure has guts. To actually establish an empire without my consent. Do they even put me in their eyes? Ding Bowen cupped his hands and said, Your Majesty. Wushu Empire is going against their superior. As long as the Saintess is willing to lead the army to the imperial palace, we will definitely take back the lost land. So despicable. 3 years ago, they already abolished Lingtai Kingdom's status as a subsidiary kingdom, and now, they are saying that Lingtai Kingdom lost land. They are too shameless. At the very least, Mu Ran thought so too. Feng Yongzhang waved his hand, and the head eunuch who was at the side shouted out, "Xia Yu has an audience." Xia Yu could be seen walking into the palace while trembling with fear, then shouted out respectfully, "Long live your majesty. Let me ask you, is Xia family the royal family of Lingtai Kingdom?" Replying to your majesty, yes. Chapter 759. One needed a reason to start a war, and Xia Yu was the best reason. He was the legitimate royal family of Lingtai Kingdom, and right now, he was helping Xia Yu to recover Lingtai Kingdom and kill the traitor. Of course, there was another reason. Saintess, I order you to lead 100,000 elite soldiers to recover Lingtai Kingdom. In the past, the order that Mu Ran received was to resist the invasion of other kingdoms, and that was her duty, but today, she was going to invade another kingdom. Mu Ran said respectfully, "Your Majesty, Lingtai Kingdom was no longer a subsidiary kingdom of Guda Principality 3 years ago, so this is not recovering, this is an invasion." Hearing what Mu Ran said, everyone's expression changed. Saintess is openly offending His Majesty. This is a huge crime. Mu Anggua's face was also deathly pale, as expected. My daughter still said it. Ding Wenba grabbed onto the opportunity and shouted out angrily, "Saintess! You dare to refuse His Majesty's order. And you are even disrespecting His Majesty." Feng Yongzhang's face was gloomy, but he was already furious in his heart. Mu Ran's position in his heart had long changed. Starting from Tiandao Duer, he no longer trusted her. "I don't dare. Your Majesty, the situation is unclear right now. I hope that Your Majesty will allow me to go and negotiate by myself." Mu Ran's words caused everyone in the palace to start discussing amongst themselves. It was very easy for something to happen if she went to negotiate by herself, and she might even lose her life. This Saintess is too daring. Mu Ran just wanted to go and see if Wushu Kingdom was good or bad, and if the commoners there had any complaints. If Wushu Kingdom was ruthless, Mu Ran would have immediately led the army to attack, but if Wushu Kingdom was thriving, and the commoners were living in peace and contentment, then why did they have to start a war? After all, Guda Principality no longer cared about Lingtai Kingdom 3 years ago, and there was no need for them to interfere now. Xia Yu, who was kneeling on the ground, cursed inwardly. His Majesty already said to let you lead the army. And you are actually disobeying the order and want to go alone. Feng Yongzhang pondered for a while, then said faintly, "Saintess, have you made up your mind?" "Your Majesty, I have made up my mind. I hope that Your Majesty will allow me to do so." Mu Ran knelt on the ground and said respectfully, "All right. I will order you to negotiate with Wushu Kingdom. Let's wait for the Saintess to come back, then we can discuss it." Feng Yongzhang's eyes were deep, as if he didn't want Mu Ran to come back. This was the best result. If I can't obtain Tiandao Duer, then no one else can. Long live Your Majesty. As Feng Yongzhang left, everyone looked at Mu Ran in a different light. If Mu Ran had agreed to lead the army to attack and return triumphantly, His Majesty would have been very pleased. However, she chose to offend His Majesty and go alone. That was a narrow escape from death. He really didn't know what this Saintess was thinking. Mu Angguo walked forward and helped his daughter up. "Silly child, why didn't you agree to His Majesty?" "Father, I thought you understood me," Mu Ran said softly. This caused Mu Angguo to pause. His expression changed a bit. "In the past, I and my daughter always had the same thoughts, and would often discuss ways to solve the problem, but now, in order to let my daughter please His Majesty, the way I think about it has already changed." Looking at his daughter's lonely figure, Mu Angguo took a deep breath and followed. At this moment, Tang Wei was waiting anxiously. Song Kong Hong was leading his horse and looking up at the sky, seemingly thinking of a certain someone. Looking at the people walking out one after another, Tang Wei discovered that their faces were either smiling or gloomy. She didn't know what was going on. After waiting for a long time, he finally saw Mu Ran's figure. Mississippi, Tang Wei hurriedly walked up to Mu Ran. She even felt a little sorry for this little sister Mu Ran. Tang Wei, let's go home first. Tang Wei discovered that Mu Ran seemed to be very tired, even her tone was filled with tiredness. After Mu Anghua arrived, the three got onto the carriage, and Sun Konghong became the coachman. Inside the carriage, Mu Anghua looked at his daughter and said lightly, I will go and beg His Majesty tomorrow. Father, there's no need for that, I will set off for Wushu Empire tomorrow. Mu Ran said faintly. Tang Wei revealed a surprised expression. Mu Ran is going to Wushu Empire. Judging from her tone, it seems like she is going to be going alone. My God! Mu Ran's courage is so big. Right now, Tang Wei truly admired Mu Ran. Girls like Mu Ran are truly rare. Just that, according to His Honor's plan, Mu Ran should be leading an army to Wushu Empire, and shouldn't be going alone. This is a bit troublesome, Ran, if you go. Mu Anghua knew the consequences. If I go, I might not be able to see my daughter again. Father, don't tell mother about this matter, in case she gets worried. You can be at ease, I will be fine. No matter what, I am still a heaven's laws doer, it won't be that easy for something to happen to me. Mu Ran appeared to be very confident, but this was all for her father to see. I don't even know what is going on in Wushu Empire, this is no different from sending a sheep into a tiger's mouth. Right after Mu Ran finished speaking, the horse actually let out a neighing sound. Mu Ran's beautiful eyes became serious. Father, Tang Wei, you two don't go out. After finished speaking, Mu Ran walked out of the carriage, and 10 black-clothed men could be seen in the surroundings. Each of the men was holding onto a shiny blade. They were emitting out ice-cold killing intent. Sun Konghong stood beside the carriage and observed the situation indifferently. Doer sure. Mu Ran said gravely. I have a bad feeling about this. Doer sure is a high and mighty existence, how did they end up becoming assassins? One of the black-clothed men could be heard laughing, as expected of the heavens' laws Saint Doer, to be able to see through our strength with a single look. Who sent you here? Mu Ran asked coldly, although she didn't have much hope. So what if we know, so what if we don't know? That is no longer important. Kill! The black man shouted out coldly, and the black man immediately erupted with ferocious Doer Chi and attacked Mu Ran. Their target was very clear, and there was no hesitation at all. Meanwhile, Mu Ran's gaze darkened, and a green longsword condensed in her hand. Tang Wei, who was sitting inside the carriage, was a bit nervous. She wasn't nervous about herself, she was nervous about Mu Ran. With Sun Konghong protecting her from outside, there shouldn't be any problem. However, Sun Konghong currently has the strength of a doer sure, if she were to display her strength, it would be very easy for her to be discovered. Mu Anghua was very worried about his daughter, and he clenched his fists tightly. Sun Konghong, protect the carriage properly. Leave this place to me. Mu Ran shouted towards Sun Konghong, and the green longsword in her hand drew out many ripples. As expected of a heaven's laws Saint Doer, she indeed has the strength to fight against a doer sure. However, there were 10 doer sure present, no matter how powerful Mu Ran was, she would still be killed. Lightly dancing snow. Mu Ran shouted out, and her entire body became like an illusion. However, this kind of illusion appeared to be in a slow state, this caused the expressions of the 10 doer sure to sink, and they thought to themselves, heaven's laws Saint Doer is indeed powerful. Their guess was right, Mu Ran, who was in a slow state, suddenly became faster, and the sword in her hand directly cut open the throat of a doer sure. Mu Ran's breathing was a bit hurried, this move consumed too much of her doer chi, but in the end, she still managed to kill a doer sure. Just when Mu Ran was relaxing, a killing intent suddenly came from behind her, and the moonlight shone on the blade, and silver light flickered. Chapter 760. However, at the same time, all of Mu Ran's escape routes were blocked by the 8 battle masters. Mu Ran could dodge this attack by force. But how was she going to dodge the other 8 attacks? These 10 people set up an inescapable net by sacrificing a battle master. Tonight, the fall of a young Heaven's Law Doja. And her Heaven's Law Doja would become someone else's tool. At this moment, Mu Ran also felt a bone-chilling coldness. I fell into their trap. I shouldn't have exploded my dochi just now. But now, I am actually in such a passive position. What should I do? I can only resist. I have no other ideas. Just when Mu Ran was planning to risk her life, a huge figure appeared in front of her. That tall and straight figure blocked the moonlight. Mu Ran slightly raised her head and looked at the black figure. It was Tsang Konghong, who was wearing an iron mask. This beautiful scene suddenly appeared. Mu Ran's gaze carried a sense of loss as he looked at Tsang Hong. Tsang Hong's enormous body was like a large mountain that covered Mu Ran's front, appearing to be the toughest shield. In the air, 9 Do Shi's hands were holding blades as they hacked at Mu Ran. The silver-colored blade glows were filled with terrifying Do Chi. Tang Wei, who was sitting in the carriage, saw this scene. Because she was hesitating to act just now, she felt relieved when she saw Tsang Konghong. Originally, she was worried that they wouldn't be able to cross paths, but now, it seems like they are destined to be together. Tsang Konghong's current mood was very complicated. If I can poke them to death with just a finger. But Wei Chang said that I am currently in the realm of a battle master. If I poke them to death with just a finger, wouldn't I be exposed? This is his honor's plan, I can't expose it. This little thing is too weak, so I can only. Tsang Konghong had no choice but to pull Mu Ran, who was in a daze, over to him. His enormous body enveloped Mu Ran under his chest. Boom! All 9 blades landed on Tsang Konghong's back. In order to achieve the effect of a battle master, Tsang Konghong lowered his own defense to the lowest level. If not, they wouldn't even be able to cut his skin. Immediately, a wave of Do Chi swept out and spread out. The petite Mu Ran seemed to be able to feel the violent impact and could even hear the sound of flesh being cut open. Mu Ran also knew that this wasn't the time to be touched. Her petite body immediately moved away from Tsang Konghong and brandished the green long sword in her hand crazily. The 2 dumbfounded Do Shi were instantly killed. Why were they dumbfounded? Because they'd just witnessed an inconceivable scene. When the blade chopped the man's back, sparks actually appeared. Although it was only for a moment, it was still shocking. What was this person's skin made of? Under the full force attack of a Do Shi, sparks had actually appeared. Although his skin and flesh were still cut open in the end, the sparks were definitely not an illusion. Retreat! The leading Do Shi gave the order without hesitation. His intuition told him that this man was very terrifying, and the assassination attempt tonight could not continue. The remaining 7 Do Shis immediately disappeared into the dark night sky. Tsang Konghong also let out a breath of relief. According to the extent of my injuries, I shouldn't be able to stand up, so, Blue Sky Red collapsed. Tang Wei also heaved a sigh of relief. Just now, if those people didn't leave, it would be a troublesome matter. I reckon that Uncle Wei will have to send some kind-hearted black-clothed men away. A series of footsteps came from afar, and the defense army finally appeared. Saintess, please forgive us. The leader shouted out while trembling with fear. Mu Ran knitted her brows and raised her hand. With her petite body, Mu Ran actually carried Blue Sky Red on her back. Blue Sky Red's back that was dripping with blood was a ghastly sight. After placing the unconscious Blue Sky Red on the horse, Mu Ran drove the carriage and quickly returned home. Ran, are you all right? Mu Anghua, who was in the carriage, asked. I'm fine. Mu Ran said gravely and looked at the reckless Blue Sky Red beside her. It's good that you are fine. Mu Anghua let out a breath of relief. As long as my daughter is fine, I don't care about a coachman like Blue Sky Red. If she really died, I will definitely give her a sum of money. However, to Mu Ran, Blue Sky Red was her savior. If it wasn't for Blue Sky Red stopping her just now, it would probably be impossible for me to be sitting here and talking. After arriving at the Mu residence, Mu Ran directly jumped off the carriage and carried Blue Sky Red's huge body and ran into the Mu residence, leaving a trail of blood on the ground. Tang Wei immediately followed after Blue Sky Red, and a smile appeared on her face. I hope that this is a new beginning. Right now, Blue Sky Red, who was pretending to be dead, was also a bit annoyed. This little guy is actually carrying me and running, this is making me feel very uncomfortable. The mission that His Honor gave me is too difficult. Mu Ran arrived at her own bedroom and directly placed Blue Sky Red on her bed. Mu Ran didn't show any disdain towards Blue Sky Red at all. Tang Wei, quickly bring over my medicine chest. Mu Ran hurriedly shouted. Tang Wei cooperated with Mu Ran and asked worriedly, Miss, is my cousin all right? I don't know. Mu Ran looked at Blue Sky Red's badly mutilated back and was a bit puzzled. Under the full strength of 9 Do Shi, is it only badly mutilated? Tang Wei saw through Mu Ran's puzzled expression and said, Miss, this cousin of mine has a tough body since young, he shouldn't die, right? Don't worry, I will do my best. Mu Ran hurriedly smeared medicine on Blue Sky Red's back and took out an exquisite bottle. Within the bottle, there was a pill. This pill was the life-saving pill that her master gave her. Mu Ran seemed to want to take off Blue Sky Red's mask, while Tang Wei shouted, Mississippi, I will feed him the medicine. Mu Ran said in a low voice, then took off Blue Sky Red's iron mask. And when Tang Wei saw that Blue Sky Red's fists were tightly clenched, she feared that Blue Sky Red would smash Mu Ran's head with a single punch. Speaking of which, Blue Sky Red was thinking this way in her heart. This woman actually dared to take off my iron mask without my permission. I really want to strangle her neck. And when Mu Ran saw Blue Sky Red's face, she went into a slight daze for a moment, then fed the pill that was in her hand into Blue Sky Red's mouth. Tang Wei, who was at the side, closely observed Mu Ran's expression. She discovered that Mu Ran was only slightly surprised for a moment, then her expression became normal, and Mu Ran's gaze was filled with concern. Rest assured, seems like this Mu Ran isn't someone who only cares about looks. Mu Ran immediately inspected Blue Sky Red's body, and discovered that Blue Sky Red's breathing is very smooth. Is the effect of the medicine that good? It feels like it is just a normal flesh wound. There's no choice, Blue Sky Red can only act like this. Am I going to be chopped into pieces? It should be fine, your cousin's body is very tough, he can block the attack of 9 Do Shi. Mu Ran said softly. Tang Wei felt that Mu Ran was a little suspicious, this is not a good thing. Miss, my cousin was born like this isn't an illness, right? Tang Wei's acting skills are still up to standard, if she let Wei Chang cooperate now, it is possible that she will be exposed. Chapter 761. Tang Wei was delighted, that would be my cousin's fortune. Right now, Sun Konghong didn't even know what she should say anymore. Just how long is he going to protect me? Mu Ran did not say anything. She sat by the bed and observed Cerulean Red's condition. After a long time, she found that her condition had stabilized. Tang Wei, go back and rest first. Mu Ran said softly. Miss, let me go with you. It's fine. I'll just watch over here. Mu Ran felt that the other party was doing this to save her, so it was normal for him to take care of her. Of course, Tang Wei wouldn't be a third wheel, and, Miss, you should rest early too. Mu Ran nodded. Tang Wei walked out of the room and gently closed the door. If Firmament Hong was as good at flirting as Lai Gu, this Mu Ran would definitely not be able to escape from him. It was a pity that Sun Konghong did not know how to speak at all. He was the kind of person who did not know how to flirt and could even kill a conversation. He didn't know if Mu Ran would like Sky Red. In the room, Mu Ran sat by the bed and observed from time to time. This wasn't love, it was a kind of gratitude. Although it was not to the extent of liking him, Muran at least had a good impression of Blue Sky Hong. From a stranger to her savior, this was already a huge leap. Sun Konghong didn't want to lie down. She didn't even want a little girl to take care of her. She felt embarrassed. However, he had no choice but to do so, and this little girl would observe him from time to time, making him even more depressed. At this moment, Muran was thinking about who had sent these people. To be able to call out 10 spirit masters, they were definitely not ordinary people. The fourth prince? I don't seem to have any conflicts with him. Your Majesty. He had just walked out of the palace gates when he was attacked. This was a little illogical. Furthermore, he was going to Voidless Empire, and it was uncertain whether he would be able to return alive. His Majesty's actions were completely unnecessary. Perhaps it was because he was a heavenly law doja, and assassins from the other two countries were more likely. It seemed like he had to conceal his identity as a heavenly law doja from the very beginning. He did not expect that it would not only attract the suspicion of His Majesty, but also attract the suspicion of others. If a Grand Doja came tonight, something bad would happen. Fortunately, it's all thanks to him. Muran took a look at Sun Konghong, who was on the bed, then lightly leaned onto the side of the bed and closed her beautiful eyes. My heart is tired. Sun Konghong, who was lying on the bed, did not dare to move at all, as if she was afraid that she would be discovered. The next morning, Muran abruptly opened her beautiful eyes and discovered that it was already morning. She then looked at Sky Hong, who was lying on the bed, and observed her. Sky Hong was recovering very well. With a sigh of relief, Muran stood up and prepared to wash her face. A sound came from the bed. Muran turned around and saw Sun Konghong sitting up and putting on the iron mask again. You can't get out of bed yet. You need to rest. Muran hurriedly walked over to persuade him. Sun Konghong had had enough last night. She really didn't sleep the whole night and was very careful. Shaking her head, Sun Konghong ignored Muran's advice and walked out of the room. Muran lightly sighed. Tang Wei's cousin's personality was indeed very eccentric, but his recovery ability was too strong. Or could it be that the medicinal pellet given by teacher was more powerful? Miss? At this time, Tang Wei came over with water and asked curiously. Your cousin seems to be almost recovered. Muran still chose to believe in the power of the pill. That's great, I thank you on behalf of my cousin. No need, it was your cousin who saved me. I should be the one thanking you. Muran said with a smile. After washing her face, Muran said indifferently, Tang Wei, help me pack up my baggage. Miss, are you going now? Tang Wei hurriedly asked. Tang Wei, you and your husband should live a good life here. Muran planned to go alone. After all, this time, it was normal for her to die. Of course, Tang Wei wouldn't stay here. Miss, I'll go with you. Tang Wei, there's no need. It's very dangerous for me to go this time. Miss, I'm not afraid of danger. Muran chuckled, Tang Wei, there's really no need. Miss, if you go alone, what will happen if there's no one to take care of you? Furthermore, I'm very familiar with that place. Furthermore, my cousin called us back. I also want to go and take a look. This is also on the way. Tang Wei forcefully explained. Muran pondered for a moment before saying, after entering the city, don't follow me. It's very dangerous. Tang Wei happily agreed. Then go and prepare. We'll leave immediately. All right. Very few people knew that Muran was going to Voidless Empire. In fact, only Muangguo went out to send her off. Her mother and little brother didn't know. Even when Muran, the holy maiden, left the city gates, no one came to send her off. As for the assassin from last night, there was no follow-up explanation either. Muran was a little disappointed. However, what she cared about was the commoners. Everything else could be ignored. In the back garden of the palace, King Feng Yongzhang was currently admiring flowers with Ding Wenba following behind him. A young eunuch stood respectfully beside Feng Yongzhang and whispered a few words. Your Majesty, I presume that the holy maiden has already left the city. Ding Wenba said respectfully. Feng Yongzhang held onto a pair of scissors and slowly trimmed the flowers. Who sent the assassin yesterday? It has been confirmed, it's Xuanzhong Kingdom. That old fart. He even wanted to assassinate my holy maiden and frame me. He deserves death. Feng Yongzhang ruthlessly threw the pair of scissors onto the ground. The palace maids in the surroundings all knelt down. If Mu Ran had died in Gouda Principality yesterday, Tianliang sect definitely wouldn't let the matter rest. They might even vent their anger on Gouda Principality, and the consequences would be rather severe. Your Majesty, please quell your anger. Fortunately, the holy maiden is fine. Ding Wenba said softly. His words were naturally meant for the palace maids in the surroundings to hear. The heavens bless the holy maiden's triumphant return. If the holy maiden doesn't return after a long time, I will destroy this Wushu empire. How could Feng Yongzhang not know this? He only hoped that the holy maiden would remain in Wushu empire forever. At that time, he wouldn't even need to make a move, as Tianliang sect would destroy Wushu empire. Long live your Majesty! Ding Wenba shouted loudly. The palace maids in the surroundings also shouted in unison. Being in such a position, everyone had to wear a mask and act. On the other side, Wei Cheng and Sun Konghong sat outside the carriage, while Mu Ran and Tang Wei sat inside. The four of them headed towards Wushu Empire. According to the speed of the carriage, they might need half a month's time to reach Wushu Empire. Wei Cheng also intentionally slowed down the speed of the carriage. As for why, it was naturally to create an opportunity. But looking at Sun Konghong's current state, he doesn't even know how to create an opportunity. He is simply a blockhead. No wonder Yu Hua doesn't like you. Which woman would like you? Chapter 762. Wasn't Tang Wei captured by me when I was chasing after her? If you want to chase after a girl, then you must be thick-skinned. If your skin is thin, then you should be single for life. It is impossible for you to wait for a girl to chase after you. Is your injury better? Mu Ran suddenly lifted the curtain and asked with concern. Sun Konghong remained silent and nodded his head. He seemed to be very aloof. This wasn't because Sun Kong was wearing red clothes. It was because of her personality that Yu Hua didn't like her. After all, every woman wanted to be cared for. Lai Gu expressed his concern, while Sun Konghong only kept his concern in his heart and never expressed it out. Mu Ran didn't ask any more questions and returned to the carriage. Wei Cheng shouted, "Idiot! This Mu Ran looks pretty good. Although her strength is not that high, she is definitely a good girl. She is definitely a good match for a fool like you." Tang Wei, who was sitting in the carriage, was also crying out at how stupid Yu Hua was. When a girl takes the initiative to show concern for you, you should at least show some gratitude. No wonder Yu Hua doesn't like you, you deserve it. Mu Ran didn't show any signs of disappointment. She just sat there quietly, thinking about the problem. Seeing that Mu Ran did not have any disappointed reaction, Tang Wei was a little anxious. It seemed that Mu Ran only treated Sky Red as her savior and did not have any other thoughts. Sigh, he felt that it was hopeless. The carriage slowly drove on the road, and Wei Cheng reported the situation here to his honor. When Yu Hua heard Wei Cheng's report, he was very happy and praised Wei Cheng. A war is definitely going to start soon, and it is time for Wushu Empire to shock Northern Liang Empire. This was just a small step for the main body. The path of revenge had just begun. Meanwhile, Yu Hua also inquired about Blue Sky Red situation to see if there was any progress. When he heard Wei Cheng say that Sun Konghong was injured in order to save Mu Ran last night, this caused Yu Hua to feel a little gratified. At least, this Tsang Hong isn't a fool. However, in the next moment, Yu Hua dispelled the thought that he had just had. Yu Hua felt that it was normal for Yu Hua to not like Sun Konghong. With a personality like Sun Konghong's, it would be impossible for him to obtain a girl's favor. However, Yi Hua was a bit looking forward to meeting that Mu Ran soon. I want to see just how capable this Mu Ran is, to be able to be hyped up by Wei Chang's words. On the first night, the carriage stopped by the river. Sun Konghong caught a fish and Wei Chang started a fire to roast it. The four of them acted as if they were on vacation, and Tang Wei acted as if she was taking care of her little sister, causing Mu Ran to feel very grateful towards Tang Wei. She felt that Tang Wei was like her big sister and had a very good impression of her. However, if Mu Ran found out that the three of them were actually liars, who knew what she would do? In fact, all of the scams revolved around Mu Ran. The intelligent Mu Ran actually did not realize it. Perhaps it was because Tang Wei was too meticulous, causing Mu Ran to lower her guard. Of course, there was also Blue Sky Hong who risked her life to save Mu Ran. Being deceived by the enemy could only be said to be a lesson, but being deceived by someone he trusted was a blow. Actually, it was a good thing that Sun Konghong did not have any interaction with Mu Ran. Once he did, Mu Ran would discover that everything was fake, and that would be even worse. After eating the grilled fish, Wei Chang and Sun Konghong stood guard outside. Right now, Mu Ran was an important target of protection, and nothing could happen to her. Mu Ran and Tang Wei are resting in the carriage. Tang Wei, let your cousin come into the carriage to rest. The wind outside is very strong, and with his injuries, he cannot suffer from the cold. Mu Ran said concernedly. What a considerate girl. Tang Wei had an idea and said lightly, Miss, don't look at that cousin of mine just because he is a wooden person, in actuality, he cares a lot about his face. If I go and talk to him, it won't be effective. I will go and talk to him then. As expected, Mu Ran fell into Tang Wei's trap. Looking at Mu Ran getting off the carriage, Tang Wei didn't know if what she did was right or wrong. I wouldn't have harmed Mu Ran, right? Thinking about it, if Mu Ran really liked Sun Konghong, with Sun Konghong's personality, he might not accept her, and Mu Ran would be sad. In the future, it's better not to try and pull strings, and let nature take its course. Let's see if they are fated to be together or not, and I can't force it. Sun Konghong was sitting cross-legged on a big rock at the side and seemed to be cultivating. Hearing the slight footsteps beside him, Sun Konghong opened his eyes. Mu Ran looked at Sun Konghong's enormous body and thought back to last night. This body enveloped me, and at that time, it seemed to be very safe. Sun Konghong, the wind here is strong, you should go and rest in the carriage. Cold wind would howl during the night in northern Liang, and it was indeed rather cold. Furthermore, this was a plain, and the wind was even stronger. After hearing Mu Ran's words, Sun Konghong shook his head and continued to close his eyes, seemingly not willing to pay attention to Mu Ran. Mu Ran felt that Sun Konghong's behavior was normal. Thus, Mu Ran didn't leave and sat on the other side of the big rock. Actually, when I was young, I didn't like to talk either. Mu Ran said in a low voice while slightly looking at the starry sky. Sun Konghong heard Mu Ran's words, but he still remained silent. He even recalled that a long time ago, Yu Hua had also been like this, speaking her mind to me. Since you don't like me, why are you speaking your mind? Could it be that I, Sun Konghong, am just a listener? I am not willing to be a listener. Mu Ran didn't know what Sun Konghong was thinking in his heart, and he didn't feel any abnormalities. Mu Ran seemed to be consoling Sun Konghong, telling him to have confidence, and not to lock himself up. Some children don't like to play with me, and even my brother doesn't like to play with me. He said that I am a boring person. Mu Ran laughed bitterly. My childhood is truly not that good. As I slowly grew up, there were indeed people who played with me. However, I know that they did it with an ulterior motive. As Mu Ran spoke, the tone of his words seemed to have changed. Originally, he wanted to enlighten Sun Konghong, but now, he was telling Sun Konghong about his own matters. This kind of mutual deception is actually very tiring for me. Even when I was in Tianliang sect, I didn't experience something like this. Because of a heaven's will, it seems that everyone's opinion of me has changed. If I had known that it would be like this, I wouldn't have gone to snatch that heaven's will. Muran paused for a moment. Why am I talking about myself? Didn't I want to enlighten him? I still haven't thanked you. Thank you for saving me last night. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be sitting here and talking to you right now. Thank you, you are really a good listener. Muran's last sentence made Sun Konghong think of Yu Hua. I remember that Yu Hua had also said this sentence before. Sun Konghong immediately jumped down from the big rock, then leaned against the bonfire and laid down. His meaning was very clear: I don't want to listen to you, and I don't want to be a listener. Muran didn't know why Sun Konghong suddenly got angry. Could it be that he said something wrong just now? But it doesn't feel like he said anything wrong. Looking at Sun Konghong, Muran pursed his lips and walked into the carriage. Tang Wei also heard what Muran said just now. She cursed Sun Konghong in her heart. You have already lived for over 10,000 years, why are you still so childish? It's not like Muran intentionally brought up your sad matters. Chapter 763. After returning to the carriage, Muran was very calm. She leaned against the side and rested, not saying anything. Perhaps, Sun Konghong still hasn't walked out of the shadow of the past few years. Most probably, he still has feelings for Yu Hua. After all, it is a relationship of over 10,000 years, how can it be broken just like that? But no matter what, Yu Hua is already someone's wife, and she is Lai Gu's wife. In the next few days, Wei Cheng seemed to have increased his speed. This Sun Konghong is really depressing. I originally wanted to stay on the road for a few more days, but this fellow is completely indifferent. What's the point of staying on the road? Sun Konghong, who didn't know the truth, felt that this speed was fine. The further north they went, the colder the weather became. Snow also gradually appeared in the sky, and very quickly, a vast expanse of whiteness appeared in front of them. In Kangluo continent, no matter how cold the south is, there is no snow. But in the north, there is snow for half a year, especially in the location of Wushu Empire. However, the endless snow scenery was not bad. Occasionally, pedestrians would appear on the road, and they were all honest villagers. When they saw such a luxurious carriage, they would first be shocked and then kneel on the snow. When the carriage disappeared, only then did they stand up. However, their pants were already wet from the snow. This was how it was in Kangluo continent. After more than 10 days of bumpy travel, they were about to reach Wushu Empire. Muran pulled open the curtain of the carriage and observed the expressions of the pedestrians. She discovered that the pedestrians were all smiling and chatting happily. If this Wushu Empire is a ghost city, how can there be so many people here, and all of them are very happy? Seems like this Wushu Empire should be a good country. I am looking forward to meeting the king. Suddenly, a clamor came into the carriage from outside. What's wrong? Muran asked curiously. Miss, come down and you will know. Wei Cheng smiled. Looking at Wushu Empire from this angle is very refreshing. Its grandeur is even greater than those countries in Heavenly God realm. Muran walked out of the carriage with doubt. When she saw the scenery in front of her, she couldn't help but open her small mouth, appearing very shocked. Muran felt that she had seen the huge Tianliang sect before, but she was still shocked by the scene in front of her. The surroundings were indeed snowing, but in the sky above Wushu Empire, the sky seemed to have opened its eyes. The golden sunlight shone on Wushu Empire, making people feel its majesty and grandeur. Compared to the Gouda Duchy, this place was simply too magnificent. The Gouda Duchy was like a run-down little city. Muran was only looking at the sky. That majestic city wall was so dazzling that he couldn't even see the end of it. There were city towers every 300 meters. Because he was standing quite far away, Muran wasn't able to see how tall the city wall was. But from this height, he seemed to be able to see the Wushu Empire's royal palace. Among all the buildings, only the imperial palace was the tallest. The majestic building showed its prestige. The entire imperial palace gave off a strong sense of oppression, as if it was warning everyone. Those who obey me will prosper. Those who oppose me shall perish. Miss, we still have to hurry. We have to enter the city before nightfall. Wei Chang said. Mu Ran returned to the carriage with astonishment. However, she was still looking at Voidless Empire outside the carriage. Suddenly, he had a thought. Even if he brought his troops here, would he have any chance of winning? This was not the Lingtai country of the past. This was a brand new country, Wushu Empire. However, at this moment, Mu Ran was starting to worry about this Voidless Empire. Would it attack other countries? From the looks of it, they are very powerful. The city seemed to be right in front of them, but in actuality, the city was still very far away. After about 2 hours passed, the city walls of Voidless Empire could finally be seen. Right now, Mu Ran had already gotten off the carriage, and the astonishment on her face had yet to dissipate. Just now, when she was looking at the city walls from afar, they seemed to be normal. However, only when she got closer to the city walls did she discover. The city walls were actually 300 meters tall, and the city walls felt as if they were going to rush into the clouds. Furthermore, when she looked to the right side, she couldn't even see the end of the city walls. Just how big is this Voidless Empire? Mu Ran even felt that the materials used to build the city walls were not ordinary. Furthermore, the city walls were faintly emitting out the smell of an imprint. Just that, the imprint was temporarily suppressed. If the imprint were to explode out, the imprint would be able to cause a lot of damage. If one were to encounter an invader and recklessly attack without understanding the situation, one would definitely suffer a huge loss. The golden city gates that were 100 meters tall caused Mu Ran to be dumbfounded. Just how rich is this Voidless Empire? This is too extravagant, isn't it? Even the city gates are made out of gold. There were also the words Voidless Empire, which gave off a strong feeling of might. Everyone could only look up to it, and red flags were hung on both sides of the city gates. Looking at the hearts on the flags, Mu Ran laughed lightly. Seems like the king here is a good person. This place has changed so much. Tang Wei, who was at the side, shouted out exaggeratedly. That's right. Wei Chang also began cooperating with Tang Wei. Mu Ran observed for a while and felt that there weren't a lot of people entering the city. This place is so good, why are there so few people entering the city? Suddenly, an old granny who was passing by stopped her footsteps and said to Mu Ran with a smile, "Little girl, you still don't know about this, right? It hasn't been long since Voidless Empire appeared, and we just received the news about it. Furthermore, Voidless Empire has 3 city gates, and this is the side gate." Side gate? Mu Ran cried out in astonishment. The old granny nodded her head. The main gate is on our right side, and we will be there in about an hour. Mu Ran, to be able to reach the main gate in about an hour, there should be another side gate at the side. Just how long is this city wall? It is indeed very long. For this reason, Yihua opened up 3 gates to welcome the residents. This city wall is too big, right? Mu Ran said in astonishment. Little girl, Voidless Empire gives us a lot of benefits, we just have to pay a bit of money every month, and when we get old, we will get a pension and a lot of benefits. The old granny laughed a few times, then walked into the bright Voidless Empire. This was the first time Mu Ran heard of such a thing. Pay a bit of money, and when we get old, we will be able to get a pension. This is very novel. The 4 walked to the bottom of the city wall, and Mu Ran sized up the guards on both sides of the city wall. Whether a country's military strength was strong or not, one could look at the guards. However, these 2 rows of white armored warriors gave Mu Ran a very strong feeling. That tall and straight figure of the white armored warriors was not moving at all, that pair of tiger eyes were staring straight ahead, and even all of the white armored warriors were breathing at the same time. However, no matter what, from these white armored warriors, it could be seen that this Voidless Empire is very powerful. It has even surpassed Gouda Principality. Without any obstructions, the four walked into the city. However, they were still obstructed at the entrance. It wasn't really obstructed, it was just that they had to fill in some documents. Today, Brett was here to take over the shift, and he could already see Wei Chang and the others from far away, and he even saw Mu Ran. In the recent month, Mu Ran's name was very popular in the group, and everyone wanted to see just what kind of girl Mu Ran was. Chapter 764. Mu Ran also looked at Brett and realized that this woman was so beautiful and tall. It was a pity that her body was a bit petite. She really envied these girls with good figures. Miss, what is the meaning of this? Mu Ran looked at the information on the table. Brett was also bored at home, so he replaced Guan Yanxin today. This is the information that every person who enters the city has to fill in. This information will be added to the spirit tablet, and it will be used as a symbol of one's identity. Staying in an inn, doing business, renting a place to stay, giving birth to a child, all of these will depend on this spirit tablet to become a legal citizen of Voidless Empire. Hearing Brett's explanation, Mu Ran's eyes lit up. How did they think of such a method? When I meet the king later, I must learn some knowledge and apply it to my own country. Thank you, I got it, Mu Ran said softly and began to write down the information. Wei Chang and the others also pretended to write something. Mu Ran took the new spirit tablet and said to Tang Wei, who was beside her, "This is really a magical place. Tang Wei, you can live here peacefully in the future." "Miss, don't you like this place?" Tang Wei asked curiously. Mu Ran looked at the street in front of her. It was clean and there were trees planted on both sides. Under the contrast of the green leaves, the whole city revealed a new kind of life. Mu Ran had never seen a city with such a spacious street before. The ground was spotless, and there were even cleaners and patrolling soldiers. The faces of the commoners were brimming with happiness. Although the city was still rather cold and cheerless, Mu Ran felt that if news of a place like Wushu Empire were to spread out, the entire city would be filled with countless people. This place will definitely be filled to the brim. This is going to be a great country. The scale of this country will surpass the other 3 countries. But at this moment, Mu Ran was worried. The rise of Voidless Empire would definitely cause the other 3 empires to become envious, and they might even join forces to attack this place. At that time, there would be no lack of bloodshed. Mu Ran dared to guarantee that those kings would definitely do such a thing. Tang Wei, you guys find a place to stay first, I will go and have an audience with him. Mu Ran said softly. Tang Wei said worriedly, how can we do that? We are already here, we must follow Miss. Tang Wei, we had an agreement. Mu Ran said in a low voice. I don't care, if something happens to Miss, I don't want to live anymore. When Wei Chang heard his wife's words, he blushed with shame. Your acting is a little too exaggerated. Mu Ran was also touched. She had only been together with Tang Wei for a month, but she could deeply feel Tang Wei's care. Tang Wei, thank you, but I still hope that you and Wei Chang can live a good life. Don't follow me and take risks. Miss, without you, Uncle Wei and I wouldn't even be able to enter the city. We can't repay such a great kindness. Miss, we will always be by your side. Why does Wei Chang feel that his wife doesn't seem to be acting anymore? She seems to have gotten into character a bit. Tang Wei was indeed a little immersed in her role and treated Mu Ran as her younger sister. Mu Ran also had a headache. Tang Wei's persistence made Mu Ran feel happy, but also melancholy. Tang Wei, Wei Chang, Sang Hong, thank you. Mu Ran bowed to the 3 of them. Along the way, he could clearly feel the care they had shown him. Wei Chang had a good impression of the kind Mu Ran, so he smiled. Sang Konghong appeared very normal and did not say anything. Mu Ran was already used to Sang Konghong's personality and did not say anything. The 4 of them walked towards the distant imperial palace. Even if they were standing at the same spot, they would still be able to see the tall tower on top of the imperial palace. Under the illumination of the setting sun, the tall tower revealed a sense of solemnity. Mu Ran was clearly right in front of them, yet, they walked all the way until night fell. Once again, Mu Ran felt that the number of people in Wushu Empire was very small. Right now, Wushu Empire was completely relying on Mu Ran to gain popularity. After walking to the outside of the walls of the Imperial Palace, Mu Ran exclaimed in admiration. This should be a city within a city, right? I feel that just a single Imperial Palace of Wushu Empire is already as big as Gouda Principality. Furthermore, the degree of extravagance that Wushu Empire has is already so terrifying. Finally, they walked to the entrance of the Imperial Palace, and Mu Ran's breathing became a bit hurried, because the entire Imperial Palace was emitting out a strange aura, causing one's heart to feel heavy, and one didn't dare to look up and could only lower one's head. On both sides of the Imperial Palace stood a row of black armored warriors. The aura that these black armored warriors were emitting out made Mu Ran feel even heavier. Furthermore, their faces could not be seen clearly at all, which added a sense of mystery to them. Mu Ran walked to the center of the Imperial Palace and shouted out respectfully, "I am the Holy Maiden of Gouda Principality, I have something to ask of Wushu Empire's king." The two rows of black armored warriors did not have any reaction and just stood there quietly. Even if it was like this, Mu Ran did not dare to take another step forward. I feel that if I were to take another step forward, these black armored warriors would immediately pull out their swords. After waiting for a long time, Mu Ran shouted out again, "Gouda Principality's Holy Maiden, requests to see the king." The golden gate of the Imperial Palace could be heard finally opening. The person who appeared was Zishan. Looking at the woman who was not far away, Mu Ran's beautiful eyes flashed past. Could this be the king's concubine? So beautiful. She is just as beautiful as the one I saw at the entrance just now, but that kind of beauty is different. Our emperor is already resting. If you have something to say, come back tomorrow morning. Zishan shouted out lightly, then walked back to the Imperial Palace. Mu Ran was slightly surprised. This woman doesn't seem to be the king's concubine. My God, such a beautiful woman is actually not the king's concubine. This is truly inconceivable. In Mu Ran's heart, such a beautiful woman would definitely be forcefully occupied by the king. Let's go and find an inn to rest first. Mu Ran said lightly. It is already so late, indeed, we shouldn't have come to meet the king. However, I am truly curious, and thus, I want to see just what the king looks like as soon as possible. Tang Wei nodded her head, and the four of them went to find an inn to rest. In the Imperial Palace, Yi Hua was sitting in his bedroom, and Dong Huang Baiji was standing behind Yi Hua. Dong Huang Baiji's delicate hands were lightly pressing onto her husband's shoulders, while Qingye was sitting at the side and peeling an orange. Yi Hua, didn't you want to meet this Mu Ren a lot recently? Why is it that now that she is here, why aren't you letting her in? Qingye peeled an orange and sent it to Yi Hua's mouth. Right now, Yi Hua was already used to being served like this by his wives. This is how a wife should be, I should have done this long ago. Yi Hua lightly chewed on the orange, then said, this Mu Ran is still a thorn right now, she needs to be polished properly. Others are serving the motherland, and yet, you said that she is a thorn. Qingye pinched onto her husband's cheeks petulantly, and Yi Hua immediately turned his head around and lightly bit onto Qingye's slender fingers. This caused Qingye's heart to jump. Even though we are already an old married couple, we are still unable to endure Yi Hua's teasing. Every time, Yi Hua's teasing would cause my heart to palpitate and my face to turn red. What a bad fellow. Chapter 765. Yi Hua slightly sucked on Qingye's finger, then said with a smile, think of a good show tomorrow and test this Mu Ran. You, a girl risked her life to come here, yet you are bullying her. Dong Huang Baiji said with a smile. Yi Hua's gaze became serious, and he said in a low voice, since you risked your life to come here, then you should be prepared to die at any moment. Don't Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji know about Yi Hua's personality? They are thinking of ways to test Mu Ran and see if she can join the group. Yi Hua felt that right now, the number of people in the team was more or less enough. Thus, if anyone wanted to join the team, they would have to be the elites among the elites. There are still 2 idiots who are staying outside, and I have no idea what is going on with them. Perhaps, they might be able to bring me a bit of a surprise. Alright, let's go back and rest. After being bored for so many days, there is finally something going on. Yihua stood up, then pulled Qingye into his embrace, then pulled Donghuang Baizhi into his embrace as well. It was obvious that he was preparing to roam free. Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi were already used to it, and thus, they continued to let Yihua do whatever he wanted. Yihua, do you know what you look like right now? Donghuang Baizhi said with a smile. Yihua hugged onto his wife and asked curiously, what does it look like? Qingye said sweetly, tyrant. Yihua went into a slight daze, then laughed out loud, all right. I like this title. Qingye, Donghuang Baizhi, the arrival of Guda Principality's Saintess to Wushu Empire had caused quite a bit of a commotion. After all, Wushu Empire was also a vassal state of Guda Principality in the past, and the reason why the Saintess came to Wushu Empire was most likely also because of this matter. However, seeing such a powerful voidless empire, all of the citizens seemed to believe that voidless empire would be invincible. The next morning, Muran woke up very early, because she planned to go to the imperial palace by herself. After all, this was a very dangerous matter. However, just as she arrived at the inn, Muran saw the 3 of them. Miss, where are you planning to go so early in the morning? Tang Wei curiously asked with a smile. Looking at the 3 people in front of her, Muran's eyes were a little red. She smiled and said, Sister Tang. After Tang Wei heard that, she became a bit absent-minded. Soon after, she smiled and said, Miss, however, Muran didn't know how powerful this sister was. If I acknowledge Tang Wei as my big sister, then Wei Chang will be my brother-in-law. What is Wei Chang? One of the 7 deadly sins, a direct subordinate of an honorable supreme. That was truly a position that was beneath only one and above all others. Thus, Muran's unintentional action seemed to be a direct ticket to the team. But that might not be the case. Because my current identity is all fake, everyone was lying to Muran. Muran looked at Sun Konghong again and sighed softly. The 4 of them arrived at the palace gate again. This time, before Muran could say anything, the gates of the imperial palace had already opened. It's just that today, its soul separation, it was another beautiful woman. This caused Muran to be a bit confused. There are so many beautiful women in the imperial palace. If she isn't the emperor's, then who could she be? Just how beautiful is the empress? Muran is truly too curious, please follow me. Li Hun said lightly. He also saw the legendary Muran, and he gave off a feeling of closeness. Thank you, Muran said softly. Last night, Zishan had also rushed out to take a look at Muran. Everyone was very curious about what kind of girl Muran was. Walking into the imperial palace, Muran felt a sense of oppression. And as she walked deeper into the imperial palace, the sense of oppression became even stronger. Breathing became difficult, and even walking became difficult. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to feel it, but as a heaven's law's doer, Muran was able to feel the terrifying aura. Just who is the emperor of this place? Walking up the stairs, Muran seemed to be having a hard time, and sweat could be seen flowing down from her forehead. Li Hun, who was walking at the front, seemed to be very relaxed, and this made Muran feel that it was inconceivable. Just how strong is this girl? I, a heaven's law's doer, am having such a hard time, and yet, she is actually able to walk so easily. Tang Wei and Wei Chang were ordinary people, so there was no problem with their performance. However, Sun Konghong was about to show off her acting skills. Learning from Muran's way of walking, it felt very weird. Furthermore, the stairs were not just ordinarily tall, if not, how could the height of the entire imperial palace be displayed? After quite a while, Muran finally stepped onto the top of the stairs and let out a breath. I'm a bit tired, it feels as if I just went through a battle. Li Hun walked into the palace gate and shouted out respectfully, My emperor. Gu de Principality's holy maiden has arrived. Let her in. Mu Ran heard a deep and steady voice coming out from the palace gate. Judging from the voice, it should be a man. In Mu Ran's heart, she thought that the emperor was an old man, and didn't expect that the emperor was a young man. My emperor invites you in. Li Han looked at Mu Ran and shouted out faintly. Mu Ran nodded her head respectfully, then slightly lowered her head and walked into the palace gate. Tang Wei and the others followed closely behind Mu Ran. Just after walking into the palace gate, Mu Ran felt that the panic in her heart was magnified infinitely, and her body couldn't help but tremble. Looking at the stone bricks beneath her feet, she felt that it was very weird. Mu Ran, who was walking forward with her head lowered, did not look at the two sides, and also did not look at Yi Hua, who was sitting on the throne. Gu de Principality's holy maiden greets your majesty, long live your majesty. Mu Ran shouted out respectfully. However, Mu Ran only bowed down, while Tang Wei and the others who were behind her were all kneeling down. Audacious! Why are you still not paying your respects to our emperor? Lai Gu shouted out according to the script. The current situation was very interesting. The Supreme Overlord brought along a group of subordinates and lied to a little girl. However, this smart little girl didn't know that everyone was just acting. Hearing Lai Gu's words, Mu Ran suddenly calmed down. Paying my respects to the emperor is the etiquette of a subject. I am the Gu de Principality's holy maiden, and the person I pay my respects to is only the Gu de Principality's king. Impudent! Luo Ho shouted out coldly and immediately released a wave of pressure. Mu Ran immediately felt that the pressure on her back was very heavy, and her legs were unconsciously pressed down onto the ground. However, Mu Ran still had her dignity, and as a weak heaven's law doer, she risked her life to resist against the pressure. Yi Hua sat on the throne and watched quietly. Looking at the current performance, I barely passed the test. The empress who was sitting on the two sides. Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji's expression didn't change. This is not the time to speak, and there is no need to speak. However, towards the girl below, Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji were rather impressed. A weak little girl actually dares to barge into Wushu Empire, very formidable. The subordinates who were standing on the two sides couldn't help but nod their heads. Although the girl is a bit weak, her character is tough enough. Luo Ho immediately increased the pressure on Mu Ran, and Mu Ran's legs were no longer able to withstand the pressure. This pressure feels as if it is being released by my master, and my master is a powerful king. A clear and melodious voice resounded throughout the hall, and holy maiden Mu Ran finally knelt in front of Yi Hua. Mu Ran clenched her fists tightly. However, facing such a powerful person, there was nothing she could do. Chapter 766. All of the subordinates were slightly startled. As expected of a girl with character, to actually dare to rebuke his honor, her guts are not ordinary. What? Do you have a problem with me? Yi Hua placed both of his hands on the dragon claws and asked lightly. Mu Ran, who was firmly pressed on the ground, said in a tender voice, "It's not that I have an opinion, I'm just disappointed." Yi Hua, Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji were almost unable to hold back their laughter. Who asked you to act cool in front of others? Look at what happened now, you are now unable to get out of this embarrassing situation. The group of subordinates remained silent. This seemed to have deviated from the script. They didn't expect Mu Ran to actually dare to say it. Raise your head. Yi Hua waved his hand and had Luo Ho release the pressure that he was exerting on Mu Ran. Mu Ran, who was kneeling on the ground, felt her whole body relax, but she still maintained her posture, as if she was very stubborn. This emperor wants you to raise your head. Didn't you hear me? Yi Hua said gravely. This Mu Ran indeed has a personality, she is actually not afraid of me at all. If it was someone else, they would have long been scared to the point that they peed their pants. This time, Mu Ran did not resist. She slowly raised her head and saw the curious emperor. The first impression that Yi Hua gave Mu Ran was, evil chi. This man's appearance was indescribably stunning. His face seemed to be the product of meticulous sculpting. His handsomeness contained a unique beauty, and he was very young. This was different from the emperor he had imagined. And he also saw the empress. Although Mu Ran didn't know who was the queen, she felt that they were the most beautiful women she had ever seen. Their beauty couldn't be described with words. She felt that such perfect women shouldn't exist. When the three of them sat on top, they were simply too compatible. Furthermore, Mu Ran was also sizing up both sides with the corner of her eyes. There aren't any officials around. He also saw the three girls in the group. One of them was the one he saw at the city gate yesterday, the other one was last night, and the last one was the one who had just brought him in. Although they were also very beautiful, compared to the two women on the stage, they were still slightly inferior. Furthermore, there were actually two children in this group of people. The ones Mu Ran saw should be Yi Zizi and Kai Yun. Their bodies were no different from children. There were even green and red, and scarecrows. And the undead. There were also many beautiful women. Just what kind of country is this? There are no officials, there are only this kind of people, so strange. Tell me, which part of you are disappointed in me? Yi Hua asked again. Mu Ran let out a small sigh of relief. When I entered the city, the emperor admired you very much. Your system made this place very perfect. I thought that the emperor here should be a wise ruler. From your tone, it seems like I am not a wise ruler. Yi Hua asked back. Yes, perhaps you are a tyrant. All of Mu Ran's subordinates sucked in a mouthful of cold air. This Mu Ran's guts can cover the sky. He actually said that his honor is a tyrant. Qing Ye and Donghuang Baiji were a bit astonished. Just yesterday night, I said that Yi Hua is a tyrant, and I didn't expect that this Mu Ran would be able to see through Yi Hua's true nature with just a single look. At this moment, Yi Hua laughed. This Mu Ran, you have quite a good eye. To other emperors, they might be very angry that others said that. After all, tyrant was a derogatory term, but Yi Hua felt that this was a compliment to him. Because what she said was very right. I was a tyrant from the very beginning. I never wanted to be a wise ruler. This Mu Ran was just like what Wei Chang said, courageous and smart. Your name is Mu Ran? Yi Hua asked faintly. Yes. Mu Ran replied, neither servile nor overbearing. Do you know that you have already committed a crime punishable by death? I know. Then why are you still saying it? I am just saying what I think. Mu Ran said lightly, seemingly unable to hear the waves that were surging in her heart. Yi Hua laughed lightly, then his expression suddenly changed as he shouted out, men. Two black armored soldiers could be seen walking in from the door, then kneeled on the ground and shouted out respectfully, my emperor. Drag them out and behead them. Yi Hua waved his hand and said lightly. All of Yi Hua's subordinates were startled. This is already a serious deviation from the script. There is no such thing as this. Even Qing Ye and Donghuang Baiji looked at Yi Hua confusedly, seemingly saying, after waiting for so long, you're going to behead them? Yes. The black armored soldiers would definitely listen to Yi Hua. Meanwhile, Mu Ran, who was kneeling on the ground, still appeared very calm, seemingly as if she had long expected that this would happen. The two black armored soldiers arrived at Mu Ran, who was kneeling on the ground, and propped her up. Your Majesty, my family's young miss didn't mean to offend you. Your Majesty, please forgive her. Tang Wei hurriedly pleaded, thinking that this might be a part of his honor's performance. Yi Hua said faintly, behead them as well. After hearing what Yi Hua said, Mu Ran finally had a reaction as she shouted out emotionally, Your Majesty. This matter was caused by me, it has nothing to do with them. What's the point of you pleading for them? What qualifications do you have to plead with me, Gouda Principality's holy maiden? That is nothing more than a joke. Yi Hua said faintly. His expression was indifferent, no different from a tyrant. Mu Ran couldn't care so much. She immediately kneeled on the ground and shouted out, Your Majesty, they are innocent. If I had offended you in any way just now, please punish one of them. Holy Maiden. Then why didn't you think for them when you spoke just now? Don't you know what will happen if you anger me? And they will also be implicated by you. You only cared about your own words, have you ever thought about their comfort? You have disappointed me greatly. After what Yi Hua said, everyone seemed to feel that what Yi Hua said made sense. Meanwhile, Mu Ran, who was kneeling on the ground, looked blankly at Yi Hua, who was sitting on the throne. I have indeed neglected big sister Tang Wei and the others. What he said is right, I didn't care about their comfort, I only cared about myself. In actuality, this is human nature. Mu Ran isn't a real holy maiden, she didn't think that much, but Yi Hua grabbed onto Mu Ran's faulty wording and crushed the line of defense in Mu Ran's heart. Right now, Yi Hua was also a person who used his brain, he was no longer that skeleton who only knew how to fight and kill. With just a single sentence, Yi Hua crushed Mu Ran, to the point that Mu Ran started to doubt her own style. Holy Maiden Mu Ran, during this 1 month, I have heard of your deeds. You have been governing the country since you were very young, and you even have the title of a genius. You are the Holy Maiden in the eyes of the commoners, but after seeing you today, I feel that those are all rumors. You are very selfish, not caring about the life and death of others, am I right? Mu Ran had a blank look on her face, she was completely unable to refute Yi Hua. Right now, she didn't even dare to look at big sister Tang Wei and the others. Death is a kind of release for you. Yi Hua waved his hand, and the 2 black armored warriors lifted Mu Ran up again. In an instant. Chapter 767. Mu Ran, who was at a loss once again, looked towards Zhang Konghong. It seems that every time I am in a life or death situation, Zhang Konghong would always protect me without any hesitation. Even if I did something wrong just now, Zhang Konghong would still do so. Mississippi, right at this moment, Tang Wei also came over and held on to Mu Ran. Meanwhile, Wei Chong, who was at the side of Tang Wei, didn't understand what kind of script his honor was playing. A sadomasochism script, a damsel in distress script, or a life and death script. Mu Ran absent-mindedly looked at Tang Wei, and suddenly felt very wronged. Just now, I didn't mean it that way. I'm sorry, Sister Tang. Mu Ran, who had always been strong, was actually feeling wronged to the point of crying. Mu Ran was crying because she was wronged by Yi Hua. Of course, there was also their understanding. At this kind of moment, Yi Hua didn't blame Mu Ran and was still protecting Mu Ran. Especially Blue Sky Red, Miss, don't you think we don't know your personality? It's hard for people to not make mistakes. Tang Wei carefully guided. Mu Ran's life had always been smooth sailing, and she rarely experienced any setbacks. Even in the Gouda Duchy, the king did not dare to rashly punish her because she had the huge Tianyang sect behind her. Mu Ran had neglected one point. This was not the Duchy of Gouda. The person sitting on the throne was not her own king, but a tyrant. If he wanted to kill someone, it would not be because he had a powerful backer. Even if the heavens were to back him up, this emperor would kill him without a second word. Zhang Konghong had no choice but to carry out his honor's secret mission, which was to protect Mu Ran. This Mu Ran was about to be chopped. Could it be that he still wouldn't step forward? In fact, Zhang Konghong was also wondering if he should continue with the secret mission. When Mu Ran was lifted for the second time, Zhang Konghong decided to continue with the mission. Lai Gu, who was standing at the side, seemed to have understood his honor's intention. It wasn't just Lai Gu who understood his honor's intention, everyone else more or less understood it as well. Is his honor directing a plan to injure himself to gain the confidence of others? Yi Hua did not think too much about it, he just wanted to give Mu Ran a blow, that's all. This person's life mustn't be too smooth sailing. Only after experiencing setbacks would one know of one's own inadequacies. I, the Supreme Overlord, had also experienced setbacks before I woke up. This Mu Ran, who had been maintaining a calm state of mind the entire time, just now caused me to feel very unhappy. Mu Ran, you do have some brains, but in my eyes, you are just a person with brains. If you have this kind of attitude, what use do I have for you? Do you really think I want you to join? What a joke. To attack my bodyguard in front of the emperor, Muran, your bodyguard's guts are just as big as yours. Yihua said gravely, and killing intent gradually spread out from his body. This is truly a group of people trying to deceive the pitiful little girl. They are all in the same group. Muran hurriedly knelt down and begged, Your Majesty, Sang Konghong didn't do it on purpose. He only did it to save me. You sure are loyal. How do you think we should settle this matter? Yihua asked back. This was also a part of the test. The test was to see Muran's adaptability. The subordinates naturally knew that his honor was going to start the examination, and they were truly afraid of his honor's examination. This was especially so for Fushir, who unconsciously took a step back. Muran quickly thought about it. It did not matter to her, but how could she save their lives? But how was he going to excuse himself from the attack? It was impossible. Your Majesty, I will use the soul of the heavenly path in exchange for their safety. Muran had no other choice but to contribute his heavenly path. This was no different from sacrificing oneself. By extracting the heavenly Tao's soul, one wouldn't be able to live for long. In the end, one would wither and die. Yihua naturally understood what the heaven's path soul was used for, and he was a little astonished. They had been in contact with Muran for about a month, but Muran could actually use the heavenly Tao to exchange for their safety. It had to be said that Muran was a girl of flesh and blood. Although she was indeed muddle-headed at times, her mind was still straightforward. In that kind of situation, a wave of wretchedness would have been the best result. This Muran was still too upright. If Muran was a little more tactful, how could she annoy her king? But it was because of her integrity that Wei Chang took a fancy to Muran and strongly recommended her. Soul of the heavens, this is a pretty good suggestion. Yihua said lightly. Muran heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that he had agreed. But this emperor doesn't want your soul of the heavenly Tao. This emperor isn't interested in that. Muran, who had just relaxed, became nervous again. Your Majesty, this is all my fault. They only offended your Majesty to protect you, please forgive them. Didn't you just say that? This emperor is a tyrant, and recklessly killing people seems to be what a tyrant should do. This emperor is just being the tyrant you speak of. Muran felt that she was actually speechless. I was the one who said all those words. This emperor is very formidable, to be able to defeat me with just a few words. What? Saintess is speechless now. Yihua asked faintly. My eloquence is getting better and better. With just a few words, I was able to make this genius speechless. Yihua looked towards Kong Kong Hong, then looked towards Yihua. This emperor has an idea that can pardon all of your crimes. Hearing this sentence, Muran seemed to have seen hope. Your Majesty is benevolent. Now you know that this emperor is benevolent. Just now, you even shamelessly boasted that this emperor is a tyrant. Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji snickered in their hearts. This Yihua is such a miser, scaring everyone to death. Muran lowered her head and remained silent. I have learned a lot of things today. Seeing that this guard of yours is loyal and courageous, let's see how much he is willing to sacrifice for you. Muran didn't understand. Yihua! Yihua shouted out. Yihua, who was in the group, went into a slight daze, then walked out and shouted out respectfully, Your Majesty. Your subordinate is here. Spar with this loyal and courageous man and see how loyal and courageous he is. Everyone was dumbfounded when they heard this. Let Yuehua beat up Blue Sky Red. This doesn't seem to be appropriate, right? Our relationship is already very stiff to begin with. If we do this, wouldn't it mean that we won't be able to contact each other even if we die? Right now, Yuehua didn't understand what his honor was trying to do. There are so many people here, why did his honor ask me to come out and spar with Tsang Konghong? The main point was, Tsang Konghong was only at the level of a doge at the moment. This was clearly a death sentence, and Moonlight couldn't bring herself to do it. At this moment, Sun Konghong was dumbfounded. He did not understand what his honor meant by asking Moonlight to beat him up. I don't understand. Not only did Sun Konghong not understand, even Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji did not understand what Yihua meant. In actuality, Yihua was trying to free the two of them from this stalemate. If there was no breakthrough, the stalemate between the two of them would never be resolved. Today, I'm going to make Sun Konghong understand that this woman is no longer the woman that you imagined her to be. She was someone else's woman. She can hurt you. Don't have any more illusions. Chapter 768. Your Majesty. I'll spar with you. Mu Ran hastily accepted the challenge without hesitation. Sun Konghong was just an ordinary fighter. He was no match for Mu Ran. Mu Ran, are you going to give up your last chance to save yourself? Don't use your personality to challenge my bottom line. Yihua shouted out gravely. Mu Ran went silent. If he angered this emperor again, Tang Wei and the others would be implicated again. Everyone, move aside. Yihua shouted out faintly. His subordinates retreated to the side, leaving an empty space in the middle. Tang Wei helped Mu Ran to stand up and stood at the side. Mu Ran stared at that tall figure as her beautiful eyes were filled with worry. She could feel that Sun Konghong was against her. But why would he stand out to protect her every single time? She truly couldn't understand. But no matter what, Mu Ran was still moved when she saw that resolute back view. She prayed to the heavens that Sun Konghong would not be injured. Even if he had to suffer the pain, they were all good people, and he was the one who put them in danger. At this moment, Moonlight's emotions were very complicated. She slowly turned around and looked at Sun Konghong, who was wearing a mask. Sun Konghong also turned to look at Yuehua. Her face under the mask was a little strange. It was tense and relaxed at times. It was as if he was in a very complicated mood. Isn't Yuehua the same as well? However, since his honor has already spoken, how can I possibly disobey his order? Kai Yun, who was standing not too far away from Yuehua, was also very worried about his two subordinates. On the day of Yuhua's wedding, the relationship between Yuehua and Yuehua had already become stiff. And now, his honor is lighting a fire on this relationship. Could it be that his honor wants Sun Konghong to completely give up on him? As the people involved, Moonlight and Sky Hong did not understand this logic. Seeing that Moonlight was just inches away from him, Sun Konghong lowered his body slightly and got into an attacking stance. The aura of a doge immediately spread out. When Moonlight saw Firmament Hong's action, her beautiful eyes narrowed slightly. Sky Red took the initiative to attack. This 10,000-year relationship was finally going to come to an end today. The aura of a doge instantly spread throughout the palace. Sky Red simply punched Yuhua's face. Yuhua stood still and waited patiently. Mu Ran clenched her fists tightly. Boom! The punch slammed heavily into Yuhua's face, and a dull thud rang out. The huge rebound force sent Sky Red flying, and he crashed into one of the pillars in the palace. Boom! Boom! The dragon on the pillar suddenly moved. It let out a dragon roar, seemingly very displeased. Yihua's gaze turned cold, and the latter obediently fused back into the pillar. Mu Ran was dumbfounded. She thought that the dragon on the pillar had been carved. Who would have thought that the divine dragon was real? Just now, the dragon had appeared and let out a dragon roar, and then it returned to its original state. Could it be that he was hallucinating just now? However, right now, Red of Blue Sky had landed under the pillar, and a trace of blood flowed out from the mask. Fixing one's strength at the level of a dojo would not be able to withstand such rebound damage. On the other hand, Yuhua did not attack at all. She only used the weakest defensive method. Even the weakest method was not something a fighter could withstand. Sun Konghong stood up slowly and attacked Yuhua again. Boom! Sun Konghong's body was sent flying again. He seemed to be using this method to wake himself up and stop being so stubborn. She was someone else's woman, no longer the Yu Hua from before. Blue Sky Red attacked again and was sent flying again. Mu Ran, who was standing at the side, was crying. Her heart was heavy as she watched Sky Red's attacks fail again and again. Yu Hua was also furious. What are you doing? Was he using such a method to make himself suffer? Sure. You did it. Sun Konghong punched out once again, and this time, Yu Hua finally moved. A water pillar gushed out from Yu Hua's body and directly grabbed onto Sun Konghong's fist. The water pillar then condensed into another fist and fiercely punched onto Sun Konghong's abdomen. Boom! A shockwave was actually created by this punch. Sun Konghong. Mu Ran couldn't help but shout out. Yi Hua instantly released an oppressive might and pressed Mu Ran onto the ground, making her unable to move. This is something that my subordinates have only seen. I have to settle this matter today. Blood was flowing out from under Sun Konghong's mask. Feeling Yu Hua's punch didn't land on his body, instead, it landed on his heart. Boom! Yu Hua punched out once again. Sun Konghong felt great. The more Yu Hua punches me like this, the more my feelings towards her will fade. Stop punching me. Mu Ran shouted out miserably. She was worried for Sun Konghong, completely unaware that the two of them were currently dealing with their relationship issues. Sun Konghong raised his left fist, seemingly wanting to punch Yu Hua again. However, another water pillar grabbed onto Sun Konghong's fist, and Sun Konghong's entire body was hung in the air by the water pillar. Then, Sun Konghong was punched by the water fist. Suddenly, Sun Konghong felt that what Yu Hua did was not bad. This way, I won't have to worry about you anymore. Are you living well every day? Are you eating on time every day? Are you happy? Yu Hua seemed to have understood as she punched Sun Konghong fiercely. However, such a scene caused Mu Ran, who was at the side, to cry. Yi Hua's subordinates remained silent. They didn't expect that today's matter would turn out like this. After punching out one last time and sending Sun Konghong flying away, Yu Hua stood at her original spot and remained silent. Meanwhile, Sun Konghong had already fainted. Yu Hua's control was very good, so Sun Konghong's life wasn't in danger. However, Sun Konghong, who was under the mask, had a smile on her face. Yi Hua released Mu Ran's oppressive might, and Mu Ran hurriedly ran over to check on Sun Konghong's injuries. Mu Ran felt that Sun Konghong's injuries were very serious. This woman is so ruthless, she is actually abusing the weak. Yi Hua let out a breath. His mood didn't seem to be too good. Today's matter shall end here. Holy Maiden is not allowed to take even half a step out of the palace. After finished speaking, Yi Hua turned around and left. We respectfully send off our emperor. Yi Hua's subordinates shouted out respectfully. Everyone took a look at Mu Ran and Sun Konghong, then silently turned around and left. Only Li Hun remained at the scene and arranged a place for Sun Konghong to stay. Follow me. Li Hun said faintly. The petite Mu Ran carried Sun Konghong on her back once again, and her beautiful eyes were still red. When Li Hun saw that Mu Ran actually cared so much for Sun Konghong, he was a bit surprised. It's a pity that a man who is in the midst of falling out of love is completely unable to understand the care and concern of other women. However, after this incident, Sun Konghong should have already given up on Yu Hua. The palace was very big. Li Hun arranged the most ordinary palace for Mu Ran and the others to stay in. After giving a few instructions, Li Hun left. Meanwhile, Mu Ran took out all of the medicine that she had and gave Sun Konghong's treatment. When Tang Wei and Wei Chang, who were standing at the side, saw how anxious Mu Ran was for Sun Konghong, they felt slightly at ease. As for whether or not Sun Konghong would have such good fortune, they didn't know. There are a lot of women in this world, but one must definitely find a woman who loves one. And must definitely not find a woman who loves one but doesn't love one back. Chapter 769. Seems like Sun Konghong has some luck with women. After getting beaten up by Yu Hua, he has Mu Ran taking care of him. What a lucky bastard. But many things can happen in a dozen days. For example, in Guda Principality, King Feng Yongzhang was receiving 2 people from Tianliang sect. They were Mu Ran's senior brother and senior sister. Junior sister Mu Ran had only left the sect for a month, but 1.5 months had passed and she was nowhere to be seen, so she had no choice but to come down the mountain to look for her. After all, junior sister was a Heaven Dao expert now, and the sect took good care of her. The 2 of them stood in the study room casually. Other than Feng Yongzhang, Ding Wenba was beside them. Young Master Tai, Miss Yun, please take a seat. Feng Yongzhang was very polite. They were from Tianliang sect, so he had to treat them well. After all, Tianliang sect wasn't to be trifled with. And he knew why they came today. Tai Hongguang and Yun Ting looked indifferent, as if they didn't care about the king at all. Feng Yongzhang was angry, but he couldn't do anything about it. Where is my junior sister? Yun Ting asked coldly. Ding Wenba smiled. Miss Yun, you're talking about Mu Ran, right? Did I ask you? Yun Ting turned to look at Ding Wenba. The latter instantly lowered his head and cursed in his heart. A dog that relies on its master's power. Miss Yun, Mu Ran isn't in Guda Principality now. Feng Yongzhang smiled. Tai Hongguang said solemnly, Feng Yongzhang, what is Mu Ran's status now? You should know. If you hide her or have other thoughts, you should know the consequences. Why would I? I won't have other thoughts. Feng Yongzhang quickly said, but in his heart, he wished he could cut these 2 into pieces. Every time he saw these people from Tianliang sect, he wished he could flatten them. I don't want to speak any more nonsense. Where is Mu Ran? We are going to take her away. Tai Hongguang shouted coldly. It seemed that this man and woman weren't to be trifled with. Feng Yongzhang sighed deeply. Truth be told, Mu Ran went to Wushu Empire. Wushu Empire? Yun Ting was puzzled. Why hadn't he heard of such a country before? Yes, this empire used to be called Ling Tai country. It was occupied recently and called itself an empire. They didn't care about Tianliang sect at all. After all, they didn't report to Tianliang sect when they founded the empire. Mu Ran is merciful and doesn't want the 2 sides to fight, so he went there alone to gather information. Feng Yongzhang was a scheming person. Yun Ting's gaze turned cold. You actually let Mu Ran go alone. Mu Ran's temper is very stubborn, she won't give in. Right now, it has already been a month, and there is still no news from Mu Ran at all, I'm afraid. Feng Yongzhang's face was filled with worry, seemingly as if it was real. It's already been a month. Tai Hongguang growled. There had been no news of his junior sister for a month. This was probably not a good thing. After all, junior sister was now a heavenly law doja. Feng Yongzhang nodded and said in a deep voice, I watched Mu Ran grow up. I won't let this matter rest. I've been making arrangements for sending troops these few days. Tai Hongguang and Yun Ting took a look at each other. Right now, finding junior sister is more important. What is there to be afraid of for a small empire? Without saying anything, the 2 walked out of the study room and flew into the sky. After seeing the 2 left, Feng Yongzhang snorted coldly. What kind of joke is this? Isn't this just relying on the Tianliang sect that is behind them? Your Majesty. Ding Wenba, who was at the side, called out in a low voice. Speak. It is time to pave the way for the 4th prince. Ding Wenba suggested. After hearing that, Feng Yongzhang paused for a moment, then said, Speak. Wushu Empire cannot be allowed to be destroyed by the Tianliang sect. Right now, the 4th prince needs to go on a war, and Wushu Empire is the best choice. What you said makes a bit of sense. Just now, I had also told them about the matter of sending troops out in front of them. From the looks of it, it is time for us to pave the way for Yun. Your Majesty is wise. After all, Muran had the identity of a saintess in Gu de Principality, and furthermore, she was also a heavenly law doja. Even if Gu de Principality didn't come looking for Muran, the Tianliang sect would definitely come looking for Muran. It doesn't matter who comes looking for Muran, I will kill every single one of them. If a group of people comes, kill them all. Let the entire Northern Liang sect know that Wushu Empire is the most stable place for them to live in. Very quickly, Tai Hongguang and Yunting found the location of Wushu Empire. Senior brother, should we go back and report this? Yunting asked faintly. Tai Hongguang appeared to be very relaxed. There is no need to report a small empire. As long as Muran is still alive, we will naturally be able to snatch it back. If something happens to Muran, then this Wushu Empire will have to be prepared to suffer the wrath of the Tianliang sect. Yunting replied lightly. The two of them quickly flew towards Wushu Empire. The two of them had the strength of a rank 9 dosher, and they could basically walk unhindered in these empires. In less than an hour, the two of them saw the outline of Wushu Empire, and they couldn't help but be startled. Senior brother, is this Wushu Empire? Yunting rubbed his eyes and asked in disbelief. Tai Hongguang was a little absent-minded as well. This was the first time that he had seen such a magnificent empire. This kind of layout feels even more luxurious and imposing than my Tianliang sect. This has indeed broadened my horizons. Tai Hongguang muttered softly. Such a city was indeed something that people yearned for. Even if the Tianliang sect were to move here, it would definitely not be bad. Yunting suggested softly, Senior brother, I feel that this Wushu Empire is not ordinary. It is best that we return and report to Master and see what decision Master makes. Hearing Yunting's words, Tai Hongguang seemed to have lost a lot of face. It was as if he was frightened by the other party's imposing manner and wanted to return to find reinforcements. Therefore, Tai Hongguang wasn't afraid at all. What is there to be afraid of? They are just paper tigers. Junior sister might have been captured. Yunting paused for a moment and took a deep breath, then let us find junior sister first. Junior sister is definitely locked up in the palace now. If we directly fly to the palace to snatch her back, we might not even need to snatch her back. When they hear us say our sect, they might be scared witless. Tai Hongguang seemed to be very confident. Actually, as long as they went to other empires, the other party's king would be scared stiff and wouldn't dare to say anything. This was the strength of the Tianliang sect. In the Northern Liang sect, they were the sky. Yunting also seemed to have been influenced by Tai Hongguang and felt that what his senior brother said was right. With such a powerful Tianliang sect backing them up, what was there to be afraid of? Therefore, the two of them directly flew towards the palace. But in Wushu Empire, flying was forbidden. Anyone who dared to fly into Wushu Empire would be killed. Tai Hongguang and Yunting didn't understand and flew towards Wushu Empire without any thoughts. Only after flying did they realize that Wushu Empire was indeed magnificent. It was much bigger and longer than they had imagined. Chapter 770. Suddenly, the two of them were blocked by 4 figures. 4 white-armored warriors stood in the void, looking at the two of them with killing intent. Tai Hongguang and Yunting were slightly surprised. This was the first time he had seen a country's guard have the ability to fly. This was an ability that only a dosher possessed. Could it be that all the guards in this country were at least dosher? That was impossible. Furthermore, there isn't any fluctuation of do qi on these 4 people. How is this possible, senior? Yunting murmured, clearly asking what they should do. Tai Hongguang felt ashamed. He was actually blocked by a small empire. Tai Hongguang's hand condensed, and a long sword appeared in his hand, giving off an unbreakable aura. Meanwhile, the commoners that were entering the city looked towards the sky in puzzlement. They were able to see the sky, but they were only able to see 6 little black dots. Was this an intruder? To think that the guards of the Voidless Empire could actually fly into the sky. That was way too frightening, wasn't it? He wondered if they would be a match for those two people. Tai Hongguang instantly erupted with a fierce dou qi, and the long sword in his hand immediately slashed towards the 4 white-armored warriors. White Cool Chop. Any disciple of the Cold Sky sect would know this move, and Tai Hongguang felt that this move was enough. Go to hell, you scum! The 4 white-armored warriors did not move at all, and the silver sword qi pierced through their waists. Seeing this scene, Tai Hongguang felt a little proud. Beside him, Yun Ting also admired his senior. With one strike, he had killed 4 doushers from the other party. Senior brother is indeed powerful. Junior sister, look. It's just so. Tai Hongguang said proudly. Senior brother, you're really amazing. Yun Ting gave him face and praised him. As expected, Tai Hongguang became even happier after hearing his junior sister's praise. However, the two of them realized that the 4 people opposite them were expressionless, as if they were not injured at all. Senior brother. Yun Ting had a bad premonition. Tai Hongguang also noticed the abnormality, because none of them was bleeding. How was this possible? His sword qi had pierced through their abdomens. There was actually no blood. Were they not human? White-armored warriors, they are all filled with snow water. Do you think that they have blood or not? An inconceivable scene occurred. The abdomen that had been cut off had actually merged back together. Tai Hongguang's eyes were filled with shock, while Yun Ting, who was beside him, immediately condensed a long sword. One of the white-armored warriors said coldly, barging into Wushu Empire. Die. Just as the word die was uttered, Yun Ting saw the person disappear. A section of her hair slowly fell off, as if it had been cut off by a sharp blade. Yun Ting slowly turned his head to look at his senior brother beside him. He saw his senior brother standing there in a daze, the long sword in his hand falling to the ground. His hands were covering his neck, and blood was seeping out from the gaps between his fingers. I am God. Yun Ting looked at his senior brother blankly, and before he could even finish speaking, his head slid off, and his entire body also fell onto the ground. Yun Ting could not help but shiver. He gripped the long sword in his hand tightly as he looked at the 4 white-armored warriors in front of him. They were definitely not doushers. Senior is a 9th grade dousher. It could instantly kill a 9th tier dousher. Their strength was definitely above that of a dousher. How was this possible? The guards at the city gate were actually dousher. This was simply unprecedented. Junior sister actually went to such a place alone. She must have a slim chance of survival. And me. Even my senior brother was stronger than me, and he died. Seems like it will be hard for me to escape death as well. No. I cannot die, I have to report what happened here to the sect. Yun Ting could be seen waving her sword, then without any hesitation, she turned around and ran. Her speed was so fast that it seemed as if her house was on fire. The 4 guards watched as Yun Ting ran away. One of them moved slightly, then shrunk back, as if he had received some kind of order. Soon after, he disappeared from the sky, dealt with the corpses on the ground, then continued to stand guard. Trespassing into Wushu Empire. Die. As for letting Yun Ting go, it was to let her go back and secretly report. Waiting for Tianliang sect's revenge. Yihua had already received Yuhua's report. I didn't expect that Tianliang sect would come looking for me first. Regarding Yuhua letting one of the guards go, Yihua praised her, which made me very happy. Yihua had a feeling that there was going to be a good show to watch soon. As long as Mu Ran stayed here, they would find all kinds of excuses to attack Wushu Empire. After all, Wushu Empire was too luxurious, and many people wanted to take it for themselves. This was the human heart, it could never be satisfied. Right now, Mu Ran was taking care of Tsang Konghong. This time, Tsang Konghong was indeed beaten up quite badly by Yuhua, to the point that he couldn't even take care of himself anymore. Mu Ran didn't dislike Tsang Konghong at all. Although she was a little embarrassed at the start, Sun Konghong had saved her time and time again, so no matter what, I have to treat him well. After going through Yu Hua's abuse, the weight in his heart had lessened by a lot, and he didn't miss Yu Hua as much as before. However, a new problem came. This little girl. She actually saw me naked. And even wiped my body. My body, I have completely lost all my face, open your mouth, eat. Mu Ran slightly wrinkled her brows, and her tone was filled with anger. Because this Sun Konghong was very stubborn. I fed him food, but he didn't eat, as if he was throwing a tantrum at me. Sun Konghong was speechless. When did I need you to take care of me? Can't a grown man like me eat? Open your mouth. Did you hear me? Mu Ran was a bit angry. I have already taken care of you so much, yet I don't even know why you are throwing a tantrum. It's fine if you are throwing a tantrum, but why did you have to save me? This is a contradiction. Sun Konghong secretly took a look at Mu Ran, and discovered that this girl's eyes were a bit red. Soon after, Sun Konghong retracted his gaze and remained silent. After quite a while, Mu Ran stabilized her state of mind, then said lightly, "If you don't treat me well, I won't feel guilty towards you." Sun Konghong was saying in his heart, "I am merely following orders to protect you, that wasn't my original intention. Even if you are angry, you should eat your fill first before you get angry." Mu Ran said lightly, then brought the food to Sun Konghong's mouth once again. At this moment, Wei Chang walked into the room and coughed lightly. Wei Chang then sent a voice transmission to Sun Konghong and threatened him, "His honor wants you to obediently eat your fill." After hearing that, Sun Konghong opened his mouth, and ate the food. That's right, every part of Sun Konghong's body was big, but his facial features were small. Mu Ran let out a breath of relief and looked at Wei Chang gratefully, then began feeding Sun Konghong mouthful by mouthful. Looking at this scene, Wei Chang revealed a smile. In actuality, Mu Ran is a good girl, she knows how to take care of people. Chapter 771. Tang Wei, who was standing outside, called Wei Chang out, then looked at the two people on the bed and asked, "Uncle Wei, do you think they have a chance?" "I don't know," Wei Chang said lightly. Right now, it could only be said that Mu Ran had a good impression of Sun Konghong. However, Sun Konghong doesn't seem to have any feelings for Mu Ran, she hasn't even eaten for the past few days, she is so stubborn and wants to save face. She even brushed past Yuehua. Could it be that Mu Ran also wants to save face and let others leave in anger? I feel that Mu Ran has been very gentle these past few days, look at Mu Ran's gaze. TSK, she has completely fallen in love with her. Tang Wei laughed lightly. Look at the current Mu Ran, when she was feeding Sun Konghong, her beautiful eyes were filled with tenderness. The most important thing was, Mu Ran didn't dislike Sun Konghong for being ugly, this was a very big problem. After all, Sun Konghong's face was indeed too horrible to look at, normal people wouldn't be able to take it. Sun Konghong risked her life to save Mu Ran twice, as long as it's a kind-hearted girl, she would be touched. Wei Chang had his own opinion. In this Kangluo continent, girls were rather traditional. It was very normal for girls to devote themselves to someone when they couldn't return the favor. It's a pity, look at that Sun Konghong, she doesn't seem to have any feelings for Mu Ran. Tang Wei said helplessly. Right now, Mu Ran has already lowered herself, as long as Sun Konghong is slightly more attentive, Mu Ran definitely won't be able to run away. Where else can I find such a considerate wife? Wei Chang shook his head, Sun Konghong and Yuehua just broke up, how can she fall in love with someone else so quickly? That's true, it's just that pitiful Mu Ran, if I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have tried to pull strings with her. Wei Chang poked Tang Wei's forehead, it's better for you to mind your own business. If you are capable, give me a child. Right now, in Guda Principality, Feng Yongzhang was currently talking to his son, Feng Yun, regarding the attack on Wushu Empire. Father, don't worry, your son will definitely return victorious. Feng Yun was very confident. His first general seemed to be about to appear, and as long as he obtained a high-level general, he would be able to sweep through everything. If he got a character like Daji, he would be even more awesome. Feng Yongzhang thought very highly of his fourth brother. He patted his son's shoulder and said, "Yun'er, father is waiting for your triumphant return. When the time comes, I will set up a banquet for the entire imperial city and the entire country will celebrate. I won't let you down." Mitchum, good. However, according to the news from our scouts, the city walls of Voidless Empire are very tall. Is 100,000 soldiers enough? Do we need more? Feng Yongzhang was also a little worried. After all, this was OL4's first battle. If he failed, others would laugh at him. So, he must not fail this time. He could only win. Feng Yun cupped his hands and said, "Don't worry, Imperial Father. 100,000 soldiers are enough. When the time comes, I will take down the head of Wushu Empire's emperor for Imperial Father to see." "All right. Imperial Father will be waiting." After a pause, Feng Yongzhang continued, "If you run into people from the Cold Sky sect, be careful." "Imperial Father, I understand." "And, then go and prepare. We'll set off tomorrow." "Yes." Gong Zhen cupped his hands and retreated. Then, he walked out of the study, his face brimming with confidence. Destroying the Wushu Empire was the first step in his conquest of the Kangluo continent. Then, he must do it beautifully. At this moment, outside the Gu de Duchy, hundreds of thousands of soldiers had already started to gather. It was a black mass of people. Everyone's face was filled with battle intent, and their aura was extraordinary. As for the powerful Gu de Duchy, this was only 1/10 of their military force. This was Feng Yongzhang's practice for his son. As for whether all of them could return alive, that would depend on their own abilities. On the other side, Yun Ting, who was escaping in a hurry, was so scared that her face turned pale. She was curious why they didn't chase after her to kill her. Although she was confused, Yun Ting didn't think too much about it. Now, she could only rush to the Cold Sky sect and report this matter to her teacher and sect leader. This Voidless Empire was very scary. Even the guards were de doucheurs. So scary. After forcefully using Do Chi to support her flight for a day, Yun Ting finally saw the Cold Sky sect. The huge pressure disappeared at this moment. It was as if she had seen her mother. Instantly, she became weak and fell at the foot of the mountain of the Cold Sky sect. The entire Cold Sky sect was located on top of a towering mountain peak. The size of the mountain was extremely huge. It seemed as if there was some kind of life being nurtured within it. Many buildings were constructed around the mountain peak, and from time to time, human figures could be seen walking around. Yun Ting's teacher was also an elder and was a well-known person in the Cold Sky sect. And the news of Yun Ting fainting at the foot of the mountain spread very quickly. "Did you hear? Senior Yun fainted at the foot of the mountain today, and her corpse was picked up by a junior who was passing by." "Of course I heard about it. The entire Cold Sky sect knows about it. Speaking of which, Senior Yun is so strong, why would she faint? Also, Senior Tai didn't come back. Could it be that something happened?" "That's possible. Otherwise, Senior Yun wouldn't rush back like this. She definitely has something to report. Hearing what you said, I feel that something big is going to happen." "Sigh, maybe. But I am just curious. In this Cold Sky sect, who dares to offend my Cold Sky sect? They are really courting death. Indeed, some people are just tired of living and are looking for excitement." In Yun Ting's room, there were 3 people standing. 2 males and 1 female. One of them who had white hair was the Cold Sky sect's sect master, Lan Gu. This person had silver hair and wore a green robe. There wasn't any pendant on his body, but that old face of his gave off a strong aura, making people not dare to act rashly. Standing at the 2 sides of the room were 2 middle-aged men and a woman. The man's name was Ma Ji, and he was an elder. The woman was Mu Ran's teacher, and her name was Fang Meiying. Although she was already middle-aged, she still retained her charm. Sect Master, Yunting just fainted due to exhausting all of his duqi, he should be fine. Fang Meiying said lightly. Lan Gu slightly wrinkled his brows, and his lower jaw slightly moved. I want to know why. Ma Ji nodded his head and injected a strand of duqi into Yunting's body. Yunting, who was lying on the bed, his face slightly reddened, as if he was alive again. I asked them to go down the mountain to look for Mu Ran. Why did he become like this? Also, why didn't Tai Hongguang come back? Fang Meiying said tenderly, and with a concerned gaze, she looked towards Yunting, who was lying on the bed. Let's ask Yunting later, and we will know what happened. Ma Ji, who was at the side, said softly, and his face was filled with confusion. Lan Gu took a deep breath, looking at the situation. They should have been attacked. I am afraid that Tai Hongguang is already dead, and Yunting also ran back to report the news. He is so tired that his duqi is completely exhausted. Chapter 772. Just as Ma Ji finished speaking, Yunting, who was on the bed, slowly opened his eyes. Yunting, who opened his eyes, was a bit confused. He turned his head and looked, and his eyes suddenly turned red. Teacher! Yunting cried and threw himself into his teacher Fang Meiying's embrace. Yunting, don't cry, teacher will help you. Fang Meiying lightly caressed Yunting's back and comforted him. He thought that Yunting must have been quite frightened. Lan Gu looked at Yunting with a grave expression and said slowly, Yunting, tell us, what happened, why are you like this, where is Mu Ran, and where is Tai Hongguang? Yunting stood up from his teacher's embrace and said while choking with sobs, Sect Master, Senior Martial Brother was killed, Junior Martial Sister Mu Ran was also captured. Hearing Yunting's words, the three's expression turned gloomy. I didn't expect that someone would really anger Tianliang's sect. What guts! Not only did they kill Tai Hongguang, they even kidnapped someone from the Heaven's Law. Who is it? Who dares to do this? Ma Ji questioned angrily. For so many years, Tianliang's sect had always been the symbol of authority. I didn't expect that someone would dare to trample on this authority. Do they want to die? It's a place called Wushu Empire. Thinking of those 4 white armored warriors, Yunting trembled slightly. That kind of fear was spreading in his heart, and it would accompany him for his entire life. Wushu Empire? Lan Gu was puzzled. I don't recall hearing about this place in northern Liang. Yunting nodded, yes, Wushu Empire occupied the former Lingtai kingdom and transformed it into a majestic city. Guda Principality originally wanted to take it back, but Junior Martial Sister Mu Ran was kind-hearted. If she went to Wushu Empire alone, I'm afraid that she would be in danger. After Senior Martial Brother and I heard about it, we immediately rushed to Wushu Empire. We were indeed shocked by Wushu Empire, but when we entered, we met 4 guards. Fang Meiying asked confusedly, 4 guards? What kind of guards? They were the guards at the city gate, they were wearing white armor. Yunting recalled the scene, and his eyes revealed fear. Ma Ji asked, you guys can fly? That's impossible, how can an empire's guard be able to fly? Ma Ji exclaimed with a face full of disbelief. Lan Gu, who was at the side, was also slightly surprised and listened quietly. Yunting hurriedly said, Elder Ma, Yunting did not lie to you. At that time, Senior and I were also curious. After all, flying is something that only a dosher can possess. Senior was not afraid, so we attacked them. At this point, Yunting's lips twitched like a shocked rabbit. And then? Lan Gu asked in a low voice. Then, their abdomen was injured by Senior Brother's sword chi, but, the injury healed. Yunting said while trembling with fear, and his voice was trembling a bit. This sentence shocked the 3 of them. This was the first time they had heard of such a healing method. It was illogical. Yunting continued, one of them was very fast. I didn't even feel anything before he beheaded my senior brother. Instant kill. The other party had actually instantly killed a 9th-tier dosher. How was this possible? Even Lan Gu's expression changed. A city gate guard of an empire was able to instantly kill a 9th-tier dosher. Impossible. Then how did you escape? Ma Ji asked curiously. Yunting cried and said, I also don't know. At that time, I knew that I wasn't their match, so I turned around and escaped. They didn't chase after me. Fang Meiying let out a breath and said softly, all right, rest for a while. Leave the rest to us. Teacher, that place is very evil. Yunting grabbed onto Fang Meiying's hand and said softly. Fang Meiying nodded her head and followed Lan Gu out of the room with Ma Ji. The three of them stood outside. Lan Gu stood with his hands behind his back and looked at the vast northern Liang land. What do you guys think? Lan Gu asked indifferently. Ma Ji cupped his hands and said, Sect leader, I feel that what Yunting said is true. But, those 4 guards might not be real guards. What do you mean? Lan Gu asked indifferently. I guess that those 4 guards are definitely experts in disguise and are bluffing. Ma Ji said in a deep voice. This kind of deduction was indeed possible. Sect leader, what Ma Ji said is not without reason. What the other party did is to make us fear them and be cautious. Fang Meiying said softly. Lan Gu let out a deep breath after hearing, our Tianliang sect is a big sect in northern Liang. Today, our disciples were killed. Heaven's disciple was even captured. If such news were to spread, where would our Tianliang sect's face be? Seems like our Tianliang sect has not displayed our strength for too long. Let the world forget about our Tianliang sect's prestige. Along with Lan Gu's words, a majestic aura spread out. Fang Meiying and Ma Ji shouted out respectfully, Sect leader, we are willing to fight. Let the enemy pay a painful price. Let the prestige of our Tianliang sect rise. All right. Tianliang sect has 1,000,000 disciples, I order the 2 of you to lead 100,000 disciples each and let the world see the consequences of provoking our Tianliang sect. Yes. Yes. Fang Meiying and Ma Ji both accepted the order and went to make various arrangements. Meanwhile, Lan Gu returned to the summit of the mountain and looked at the horizon with his brows slightly knitted. On the national highway of Guda Principality, 100,000 soldiers were already advancing towards Wushu Empire. At the very front of the army, Feng Yun sat on a white warhorse. The warhorse's body was wrapped in silver armor, and it looked quite imposing. Together with the silver armor on Feng Yun's body, it was done in one go, and his bearing was extraordinary. Behind Feng Yun were Xia Yu and Ding Wenbo. Ding Wenbo was here to assist Feng Yun. After all, he was worried, so he sent someone to follow him. Xia Yu was the former Lingtai Kingdom's royal family, and following him was just an excuse. After all, they needed a reason to attack openly. At this moment, Feng Yun looked at his summoning time, and it was already in the countdown. Thinking about it, he was really excited. Who knew what kind of general or beauty would appear? Just thinking about it made him a little excited. He hoped that a beauty would appear first. He wanted one that could fight and warm the bed. Arrange it. As he thought about it, Feng Yun couldn't help but sway with a rhythm. Behind him, Ding Wenba and Xia Yu were very happy and confident when they saw the 4th prince. Their hearts also calmed down a lot. They were just afraid that they would encounter an idiot, and that wouldn't be good. The further north they went, the more it started to snow. The temperature also plummeted, and the speed of the 100,000 soldiers also slowed down a lot. After all, they still had to follow them with rations. Fortunately, Feng Yun had already prepared clothes to defend against the cold. Otherwise, they would definitely have to stop, and that would waste a lot of resources. Chapter 773. He wished he could kill his way over right now, cut off everyone's heads, and hang them at the city gates as a demonstration. This was the result of provoking my Cold Sky sect. Two groups of people were attacking Wusu Empire. Looking at their speed, the people from Gouda Principality should be the first to arrive. After all, they were a lot earlier than Wusu Empire. However, Tianliang sect had battleships. 10 battleships were carrying 200,000 disciples, and they were heading towards Wusu Empire. This scale was much larger than the Duchy of Gouda. Even the disciples with the lowest level of cultivation were doja. Right now, Yi Hua was currently having an affair with his sister-in-law, and recently, he fell in love with this kind of feeling. "Brother-in-law, does it feel comfortable?" Qing Yutong asked coquettishly as she lightly caressed onto Yi Hua's abs. "I really love it so much that I can't bear to let go of it. I wonder if big sister has ever touched my abs like this before." Yi Hua patted onto Qing Yutong's perky butt. "Yutong, your martial arts are getting more and more profound. Didn't Yutong want to make brother-in-law happy?" "Ha, Yutong is still the one I like the most." Yi Hua felt very comfortable. Being served by his sister-in-law was especially comfortable. This was something that Qing Ye and Donghuang Baiji were unable to achieve. Qing Yutong pouted her small mouth and said, "Brother-in-law, then can you let Yutong feel comfortable as well?" Yi Hua raised Qing Yutong's beautiful face and asked curiously, "How do you want to feel comfortable?" "Brother-in-law, you are playing with Yutong again, you know it." Qing Yutong was extremely bashful, she felt very shy. "Yutong, then beg me." "Brother-in-law, you are so bad." Qing Yutong thumped onto Yi Hua's chest with her small fists, causing Yi Hua to feel great. Qing Yutong is just this charming, this kind of temperament that cannot be found on Qing Ye and Donghuang Baiji. Yi Hua's finger lightly slid across Qing Yutong's red lips and asked curiously, "Yutong, what if our relationship is found out by your big sister?" "Brother-in-law, you're done for." Yi Hua, brother-in-law, forced himself on Yutong. Yutong couldn't resist at all. Woo-woo, Yi Hua couldn't help but smack onto Yutong's perky buttocks. "Yutong, you've become more daring." "Brother-in-law, it hurts." "You still know pain. You should reflect deeply on your actions." "I will go and take a look at the children." Yi Hua sat up and stretched out his arms. Qing Yutong pouted her small mouth and stood up. With her beautiful body exposed to the air, Qing Yutong carefully helped Yi Hua get dressed. "Brother-in-law, it's a promise. Next time, you must make Yutong comfortable." Yi Hua pinched onto Qing Yutong's little face. "All right, I will let you feel comfortable next time." "Really?" Qing Yutong was originally joking, and she didn't expect that her brother-in-law would actually agree to it. "Hee, when have I ever lied to anyone?" Qing Yutong, brother-in-law is acting cool again, lying to people every day. After arriving at the children's bedroom, Yi Hua saw that God Yi and Yi Lu were sparring with each other every day. The two little fellows were becoming more and more powerful, and it was said that they were currently researching new martial techniques by themselves and testing them non-stop. As for Ah Li and Yi Yan, they go out of the palace every day to play outside. They are really two extremes of character. However, Yi Hua didn't ask Ah Li and Yi Yan to be bitter. After all, they were still children, and it was still better for them to play around. In the future, they would naturally work hard to become stronger. "Dad! Dad!" When the two little fellows saw that their father had arrived, they both stopped. When there was no one around, they would call him father. When there was an outsider, they would call him father. Yi Hua nodded his head and stretched out both of his hands. God Yi stood at the same spot without moving, while Yi Lu threw herself into her father's embrace with a smile on her face, then lightly kissed onto her father's cheek. "Lu, what kind of martial technique did you and big brother come up with today?" Yi Hua hugged onto his daughter and sat in the pavilion at the side. Yi Lu laughed lightly. "Dad, big brother and I are still continuously pondering, and we should be able to come up with a powerful martial technique. The two of you have done well. Father rarely has to worry about you." Yi Hua gave a verbal praise to the two of them. This caused God Yi, who was standing at the side, to reveal out a happy smile. To be praised by my father, that is a kind of acknowledgement, which means that I and my sister didn't put in so much effort for nothing. After hearing that, Yi Lu was also very happy. She kissed her father again, then snuggled into her father's embrace. After a period of time, the two of you will have a long-term mission. Yi Hua said faintly. This idea had always been lingering in his mind. On one hand, it was to train the two of them to be independent, and on the other hand, it was to let the two of them have their own space to think. However, right now, Yi Hua just didn't know what Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi were thinking about. Because this was a long-term mission, it might be 10 years before he could see the children. To be honest, Yi Hua also didn't have the heart to do that. However, my child has already grown up, and an eagle should be set free. If the eagle were to always stay by my side, it wouldn't be able to accomplish anything great. Daddy, is this for real? God Ye's eyes sparkled with excitement as if he had been longing for this for a long time. Yi Hua nodded. Daddy, what's the mission? Yi Lu asked curiously. Daddy had finally given her a mission, which meant that she had grown up. Yi Hua said gravely, the duration of this mission is rather long, and the two of you will have to stay outside for a very long period of time. Perhaps, when we meet again, the two of you will already be as tall as me. Hearing their father's words, the two little fellows were stunned for a moment, and then the excitement in their eyes faded away. Yi Lu hugged his father tightly, seemingly reluctant to let him go. God Yi looked reluctant as well, walking to the side and hugging his father's arm. Looking at the reluctance of his son and daughter, Yi Hua let out a deep breath. You are all good children, but you will all have your own sky. As your father, I hope that you will be strong and independent. Understand? God Yi and Yi Lu took in a deep breath, then said in unison, Daddy, we understand, we accept Daddy's mission. Yi Hua patted onto the little fellow's head, Daddy still has to get your mommy's approval, otherwise your mommy might ignore Daddy. The two little fellows didn't say anything, seemingly a bit heavy. Yi Hua stood up, the two of you should think about it properly. Otherwise, you can leave after a few years, properly accompany your mommy. Daddy, we understand. Yi Hua smiled in gratification, then walked out of the children's bedroom. Looking at their father leaving, Yi Lu said slowly, Brother, let's go accompany mommy. The two little fellows also realized that they had been training every day and didn't spend much time with their mother. If they were to really leave, they would be reluctant to part with their mother. Thus, while they still had some time left, they should make the best use of the time to accompany their mother. Walking in the palace, Yi Hua's brows slightly wrinkled. If I really let all the children leave, Qingye and Baizhi would probably scold me to death. After all, Kangluo continent wasn't a place to play around. Back then, even my main body had fallen, let alone the children. However, this was also for the sake of tempering their minds. I still have to harden my heart. Chapter 774. Long live His Majesty. The two black-armored soldiers at the door shouted respectfully. Yi Hua silently walked into the palace, and to his surprise, he discovered that Mu Ran was currently supporting Blue Sky Red as they walked. This surprised me a little. It seemed like Sun Konghong had finally let go of Yue Hua. It was true that Sun Konghong let go of Mu Ran, but he had no choice but to be served by Mu Ran. He couldn't hurt her, so he could only listen to her. Cough. Yi Hua coughed lightly. When Mu Ran saw the emperor at the door, she immediately knelt down and shouted, Long live the emperor. Get up. Thank you, Your Majesty. Yi Hua walked towards the garden at the side and sat on the pavilion in the middle. Mu Ran hurriedly poured a cup of tea for Yi Hua. Mu Ran had no way to deal with this temperamental emperor. After staying here for so many days, have you gotten used to living here? Yi Hua asked faintly while sipping a mouthful of tea. Mu Ran stood on one side, slightly bowed her head and said, I'm fine. Yi Hua looked towards Sun Konghong, who was behind Mu Ran, and asked, "You seem to treat this bodyguard of yours quite well. Have you taken a fancy to him?" Mu Ran, this was the first time that an emperor had asked her such a question. Mu Ran was a little flustered and did not know what to say. Sun Konghong, who was behind Mu Ran, was startled as well. Why did His Honor ask Mu Ran this question? How could Mu Ran possibly like me? Seeing that Mu Ran did not speak, Yi Hua said in a light voice, "That's true, who would like someone who is so ugly?" Sky Red's attack indicated that it had received 10,000 damage. "Your Majesty, it's not like what you said. Although Sun Konghong's looks aren't good, he's kind-hearted," Mu Ran hurriedly said. Yi Hua sneered, "There are a lot of people who have a kind heart. You are talking back to me again. Your Majesty, please forgive me. Looks like I'll have to punish this guard of yours again. Compared to punishing you, punishing him will make your heart ache more." Mu Ran was startled. She cursed herself and hurriedly lay down. "Your Majesty, I spoke out of turn. Please don't punish Blue Sky Red anymore. His injuries haven't healed yet." "Oh. Are you saying that I can be punished just because I've recovered?" Mu Ran was a bit on the verge of collapsing. "Which emperor is this? Alright, get up. I was just joking with you," Yi Hua said faintly. This Mu Ran, she really can't take a joke at all. She has a serious look on her face. Mu Ran let out a sigh of relief, stood up slowly, and said respectfully, "Thank you, Your Majesty." At least he knew how to talk. "Your Duchy of Gouda has already sent troops here." "Ah!" Mu Ran cried out in surprise. "We'll be able to reach it by tonight." "Hundreds of thousands of people," Yi Hua said faintly, not taking it to heart in the slightest. In fact, he was even a little happy. It's finally here. I, the Supreme Overlord, have already waited for a very long time. Mu Ran knelt down again, "Your Majesty. It must be because I've been here for too long that the king is like this. Your Majesty, don't be rash. Also, the Heavenly Cold sect has also sent 200,000 disciples over. They should arrive today." These words made Mu Ran's ears ring. The Cold Sky sect had also come, and it was 200,000. How was this possible? "Your Majesty, please allow me to go out of the palace and negotiate with them, if not," Mu Ran said in panic. "It would be good if this matter was explained clearly. There is basically no need for us to fight each other." Before Mu Ran could finish her words, Yi Hua interrupted her. "What? Do you think I'm afraid of them?" "Your Majesty, it's not like that. This is all a misunderstanding. As long as I explain it to them, they won't attack this place." Yi Hua laughed lightly, "Childish. You think they're here for you? They are just looking for an excuse." "That's right, I forgot to tell you, a few days ago, there were 2 reckless people who trespassed into Wushu Empire's airspace. One died, and the other ran away. They should be people from your Heavenly Cold sect." Mu Ran slowly raised her head and looked towards Yi Hua, and shock could be seen in her eyes. "Your Majesty, why did you want to kill them?" "Mu Ran, why did you have to ask such a stupid question? My door is wide open and welcomes everyone, and yet, they trespassed into my airspace by flying. By letting one of them go, it should be considered as giving you face," Yi Hua said faintly. "Letting one of them go is just so that she can go back and report to me, not because I'm giving you face." Mu Ran's beautiful face was at a loss. "For 2 Heavenly Cold sect's disciples to come and look for me, it is very likely that they are my senior brother and senior sister. This Wushu Empire is incomparably strange. The door is wide open, and you 2 can come in. Why did you 2 have to fly? Your Majesty, was the one who died a man or a woman?" Mu Ran asked in a low voice. "It's a man. No wonder Heavenly Cold sect would send out 200,000 disciples over. It must be for the sake of taking revenge. And they had already misunderstood that I was tied up here, and that's why they did this. All of this is because of me. Looking at Muran's sad expression, Yihua asked curiously, "My people killed heavenly cold sex people, don't you want to take revenge now?" "I can't defeat you," Muran said lightly. She was very clear of her current situation. If she were to take revenge, then everyone else would have to die. At least you have some self-awareness. There will be a huge battle tomorrow, do you have any thoughts on it? Yihua asked. Your Majesty, I will be able to end this battle, please believe me. Hehe, Muran, you are looking down on me too much. After finished speaking, Yihua stood up and left the place. The teacup on the stone table was still giving off steam. Muran sat on the ground in a daze, and her gaze was lifeless. Heavenly Cold Sect and Gouda Principality both came over, and they brought along 300,000 people, and within this Wushu Empire, just how many guards are there? They have never even seen a regular army before, so how can they possibly be a match for 300,000 people? When the time comes, the ones who are going to suffer will still be the commoners. Song Konghong looked at the despondent Muran and wrinkled his brows. He slightly bent his body, seemingly wanting to grab onto Muran's tiny wrist and pull her up. However, he hesitated, and in the end, he still stood at the side and watched. His honor did not say that this battle will end, I still have to protect her. Yihua returned to his bedroom, and he was looking forward to their arrival. Just when he walked into the bedroom, he heard the joyful voices of his wife and child, and they seemed to be talking about something interesting. Walking in, Yihua saw that it was actually God Yi and Yi Lu who were accompanying his mother. Looking at the smile on Qingye and Donghuang Baiji's face, Yihua had not seen this smile for a very long time. He remembered that back then, when Yi Yan had just been born, Qingye had such a smile on her face. However, the second child gave birth to 2 ice cubes. They spent all day brandishing their weapons and rarely played around with their mother. On the other hand, Ali and Yi Yan knew how to please their parents. Towards God Yi and Yi Lu's reaction today, the 2 mothers did not think too much about it, and they simply immersed themselves in the happy atmosphere. Daddy. When the 2 little fellows saw that their father had returned, they greeted out respectfully. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji blinked their beautiful eyes towards Yihua, seemingly saying that they were especially clingy today. Chapter 775. Where are Ali and Yan? Are they not back yet? Yihua asked curiously. I don't know where they ran off to. Qingye said tenderly while hugging onto her daughter Lu. Meanwhile, Yi Lu was currently snuggling into her mother's embrace. Because father said that the next time I see mother, I might already be as tall as mother. Right at this moment, Dong Huangli brought her little brother back. Dad, Mom, Ali is back. Dong Huangli already had the appearance of a beautiful woman. In a few more years, she would probably be even more beautiful than her mother. Yi Yan was also a handsome guy right now. He would always have a smile on his face. When he grows up, he will definitely be a warm man. However, the 2 little fellows discovered that their little brother and little sister were different today. They are actually acting spoiled in their mother's embrace. Did the sun rise from the west today? The 2 of you, come over, I have something to say to the 2 of you. Yihua said towards Ali and Yi Yan. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were a bit confused. Yihua's tone was a bit strange. Yi Lu and God Yi knew what their father wanted to say. Meanwhile, Donghuang Li and Yi Yan followed their father out with a look of confusion. The 3 walked on the gravel path outside the bedroom. Ali, Yan, the 2 of you have grown up. Donghuang Li and Yi Yan took a glance at each other. What does father mean? It is very obvious. A mission is coming. Yes. Dad, you can be at ease, we promise to complete the mission. Donghuang Li vowed. There is nothing in this world that Ali can't complete. Yihua smiled and nodded, then patted onto Yan-er's head. The mission this time is different. Dad, what's different? Yi Yan asked curiously. Dad brought the two of you to watch 007 in the past, right? Dong Huangli and Yi Yan were delighted. They loved this kind of special agent mission the most. Li, Yan, the mission duration is a bit long. Yi Hua said gravely. Dong Huangli asked curiously, Dad, is it very long? Could it be a month? Big sister, how can it be a month? At most, it will be half a month. Yi Yan said with a smile. Yi Hua sighed lightly, then said slowly, if it is long, it might be 10 years. During these 10 years, the two of you will be wandering outside. Hearing what their father said, Dong Huangli and Yi Yan stopped their footsteps, and their tears immediately flowed out. Father, don't you want Ali and Yan anymore? Dong Huangli felt that it had been a very long time since she last cried. Yi Yan, who was at the side, was also crying bitterly. He wasn't excited at all. Yi Hua immediately squatted down and lightly hugged onto Ali and Yan. Ali, Yan, the two of you can't always live under my halo. In the past, I have already talked to the two of you about this. Woo, but Daddy, it's been too long. What should I do if I miss you? What should I do if I miss Mommy? Dong Huangli said while choking with sobs. Yeah, Yan, will miss it very much too. Yi Hua took a deep breath, then said to his son, a man's ambition is to travel far and wide. Yan, you have to understand. Ali, although you are a girl, you are still my daughter. Just like Yan, and the others, I hope that you all can understand. But Daddy, Ali can't bear to part with you. Dong Huangli's tears wetted her father's imperial robe. How could Yi Hua be willing to do that? However, he had to steel his heart. You can also give up the mission, but your brother and sister have already agreed. Yi Hua decided to provoke the two of them. These two little fellows are really sticking on to their parents, and Yi Hua was worried that they would have bad habits in the future. Sure enough, after hearing what Yi Hua said, Dong Huangli rubbed her eyes. Really? Both brother and sister have agreed? Yi Hua nodded his head. Daddy. Yan, also agrees. Yi Yan immediately expressed his stance. Since both brother and sister have agreed, how could he, as the big brother, possibly fall behind? There are no cowards in Yi family. Good, this is Daddy's good son. Yi Hua said with a smile. Dong Huangli was still choking with sobs. Daddy is good and bad. Since Ali has completed Daddy's mission, Daddy must give her a reward. Alright, whatever Ali wants, Daddy will give it to you. Yi Hua lightly wiped away his daughter's tears. In that case, Ali wants to stay by Daddy's side forever. Among the four children, Dong Huangli was the one who liked her father the most, and also the one who cherished her father the most. After all, in the beginning, Dong Huangli didn't have any fatherly love, and now that she did, she was very happy. Hearing what his daughter said, Yi Hua hugged onto Ali once again. Alright, Daddy agrees. And, Daddy cannot lie to Ali. When have Daddy ever lied to anyone? Yi Hua lovingly pinched onto Dong Huangli's cheeks. Dong Huangli's baby fat cheeks had long disappeared, and right now, Dong Huangli's face had already turned into a small oval face. Alright, let's go back and accompany your mother more. Yi Yan nodded his head. Daddy, does Mommy know about this matter? Daddy hasn't told Mommy about this matter yet. I will tell Mommy about it tonight. Yi Hua was also planning to let the children accompany their mother, and then set off 1 month later. Dong Huangli said worriedly, Daddy, you have to tell Mommy about it then. If not, Mommy will definitely not allow you to go. Daddy knows. Yi Hua let out a light breath. Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji will definitely quarrel with me. What a headache. Dong Huang Baiji brought the two little fellows into the bedroom, and when Dong Huang Baiji saw that her daughter's eyes were red, she asked, Ali, why are you crying? Mommy, Ali pounced onto Dong Huang Baiji's embrace, while Yi Yan pounced onto Qingye's embrace. The two goddess-like women who were hugging onto their son and daughter discovered that something was wrong. Yihua stood at the side and remained silent, not knowing what to say. The night gradually descended, and with the information provided by White Bones, Yihua knew that the enemy army was still 20 miles away from Voidless Empire, and they had already set up camp and were resting. They would probably attack tomorrow morning. On the other side, the Tianliang sect was ready to go. After listening to Yihua's words, Yihua started pondering. This is my first battle after coming to Kangluo continent, I have to do it beautifully. They had waited for several months for this battle. Their numbers had to come up. At the very least, after this battle, the total population would reach 50%. As for how to fight tomorrow, to be honest, I haven't thought about it yet. It was a one-sided victory. It was still a semi-one-sided victory. Or should it be like before, giving a little hope and then a little despair? I've already played this trick before. I have to think of something more interesting, only then will I be able to display my majesty. Yihua, who was lying on the soft bed, was pondering. Right now, both Qingye and Donghuang Baiji had already taken a bath, and they were currently wearing light pajamas as they walked over. Both of them were calmly leaning against their husbands' sides. As for Yihua, he naturally hugged his wives. Yihua, I feel that there is something wrong with the children today. Donghuang Baiji said in a low voice. Chapter 776. Listening to the conversation between the two women in his embrace, Yihua felt that there was a need to talk to them. Because I plan to send them out. Yihua said faintly. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji clearly did not understand what Yihua meant. Give it away. Where are we going? Qingye asked puzzledly. Yihua lightly caressed onto Qingye's cheek, a very far away place. Donghuang Baiji immediately sat up and asked sternly, Yihua, what is the meaning of this? In the past, I have also told you all that my child is different from others. From a young age, he has to learn to be independent. Now, it is about time for him to do so. Hearing what Yihua said, the two wives looked at their husbands blankly. You want the children to leave us? Qingye's tone became a bit cold, to the point where it seemed like she was about to quarrel with Qingye. Don't even think about it. Donghuang Baiji was even more straightforward. Ali is only 8 years old, and my son, God Yi, is only 5 years old. How is it possible for such a young child to walk in this kind of world? What if something happened? How could there be such a cruel father? Yihua had long known that the two of them would have this kind of emotion. Which mother would be willing to part with their child? Thus, Yihua didn't blame them. They have all agreed to accompany you for a month, and then they will set off. Yihua said gravely. In actuality, I am also reluctant to do this, but for the sake of the children's future, I must do this. Qingye said coldly, no wonder God Yi and Yilu seem to have become completely different people today. Donghuang Baiji even shook Yihua and said with a choking tone, you heartless person. Where are you going to send my daughter and son? Yihua paused for a moment. In actuality, he had long thought of what to do. In the south, there are a few very formidable powers, and they are my old rivals in the past. I am preparing to let them sneak into the south to train. After I clean up all of the powers in the north, I will prepare to take action. Qingye looked at her husband blankly and shouted out, Yehua. You actually used your own child to take revenge. Are you even human? You too. Am I taking advantage of the children? I am giving them a better space to develop. If they stay by our side, what can they develop? What if the child becomes an ignorant and incompetent person in the future? Yihua shouted out gravely. How can I, the Supreme Overlord, possibly use a child to take revenge? How long are you going to take my child out of here? Yihua, let me tell you. 1 month at most. If not, I will hate you. Donghuang Baiji cried for real. Yihua said gravely, if it's fast, it would be around 10 years. Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi were stupefied, then shouted out in unison, Yi Hua. I'm telling you. Unless we die, don't even think about taking them away. After finished speaking, Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi got off the bed and left. Looking at their actions, they were definitely going to look for the children. This was too much. When Yi Hua saw his wives walking out angrily, he didn't step forward to explain anything. After all, this was within his expectations. Lightly rubbing onto his forehead, Yi Hua felt a bit annoyed. If I insist on letting the children leave, I reckon that the children will not give me a good look for the next 10 years. Forget it, I'll just coax him a little when the time comes. This child will definitely be a little uncomfortable when he leaves his parents' side. Wasn't it the same for the main body? Sigh. I should just have a good sleep, there are still important things that I have to do tomorrow. Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi directly went to the children's bedroom. After that, the two mothers hugged onto their children and bawled loudly. The little fellows had all fallen asleep, and the mothers didn't say anything and just hugged onto their children and bawled loudly. This is so strange. Holding onto the children's hands, Qingye said with her beautiful eyes that were red and swollen, Yen, Lu, come with mother, that heartless father of yours is going to send the two of you to a faraway place, and he won't allow us to see each other anymore. Ali, Shen, let's go back together. Don't bother about that heartless father anymore. Donghuang Baizhi said with pain in her heart. Yi Hua actually had such a terrifying idea. Dong Huangli wiped off her mother's tears and said lightly, Mother, we have already promised father. Yi Yan lightly hugged onto his mother, Mother, actually, we have been waiting for this day for a very long time. Hearing what the children said, the two mothers were stupefied. Yi Lu held onto her mother's hand and said lightly, Mother, we are the children of the Supreme Overlord, we cannot compare ourselves with other children. We have to work hard 100 times, 10,000 times, only then will we be able to bring honor to father. This time, father has given us a chance. Big brother and big sister are very happy, just that we are very reluctant to part with father and mother. Although God Yi didn't say anything, he lightly snuggled into his mother's embrace. In the next 10 years, he might not be able to hug his mother anymore. After Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi heard what Yi Hua said, they were certain that Yi Hua had brainwashed the children. For the entire night, Donghuang Baizhi had been persuading the children not to go, and in the end, the children were all unwilling to go. This caused Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi to become even angrier. I don't know how Yi Hua managed to make the children so unswervingly loyal to him. On this night, the two mothers accompanied the children to sleep, while Yi Hua was thinking about how he should deal with the matter that was in front of him. In actuality, there were still two people who didn't sleep, and they were Mu Ran and Sun Konghong. Mu Ran sat in the pavilion outside and looked at the full moon in the night sky while pondering about a problem. Meanwhile, Sun Konghong stood at the side and carefully protected Mu Ran. After all, his honor's order cannot be forgotten. Mu Ran knew that Sun Konghong was standing right beside her. Although Mu Ran didn't say anything, Mu Ran was still surrounded by a sense of security. As long as Sun Konghong was by her side, Mu Ran wouldn't be afraid of anything. The night gradually faded, and the sky gradually turned bright. Today was the day that Wushu Empire would become famous. Commoners were already appearing on the streets one after another. However, they discovered that the city gate was actually not open today, and there were even rows of guards standing below the city wall, seemingly waiting for something. Everyone was curious. What is going to happen? The number of guards on the city wall had doubled compared to before. Furthermore, some of the patrolling guards were asking all of the commoners to go back to their houses. Could it be that a war is going to start? Right now, all of the commoners were starting to worry. If Wushu Empire loses, then the beautiful life that we have right now would be destroyed once again. I hope that Wushu Empire doesn't lose. Right now, Wushu Empire had finished all of their preparations, and right now, all that was left was to wait for the enemy to come. Right now, Yi Hua was wearing a yellow gown. Forget about the crown, Yi Hua feels that it doesn't look good on me. I might as well put on some hair wax. However, Yihua didn't summon his subordinates like how he usually did. There is no need to make such a big deal out of a small matter like this. Low-key, Yihua didn't go and look for his subordinates, and instead went to look for Mu Ran. His meaning was very clear, he wanted Mu Ran to follow him to take a look. Upon hearing that, Mu Ran became joyous. I think that the emperor wants me to go and explain things to the emperor. Is Yihua like this? Chapter 777. As a bodyguard, Sun Konghong naturally followed behind Mu Ran. Mu Ran did not stop Sun Konghong from following, as though he was used to Sun Konghong standing guard. The three of them walked onto the royal road and headed towards the city wall. Climbing a flight of stairs that was more than 100 zhang high, a table had already been set up, and breakfast was placed on it. Speaking of breakfast, ever since Qingye and Donghuang Baiji went out last night, they had yet to return. I reckon that they must be very angry. He had originally wanted to bring them up to show off, but it seemed like that was not going to happen. My emperor. Today, it was the blood race sisters, Serena and Serena. This had been decided a long time ago. They were considered new faces, so it was easier for them to show up. Yihua took a look at the two sisters who looked exactly the same as him and felt that LV Tao, that fellow, is lucky. I heard that he had been cuckolded in the past, but I didn't expect that after being cuckolded, he would still have such luck. Looking at this pair of twins, every detail was exactly the same. It was really hard to tell who was the older sister and who was the younger sister. Today, they even wore a sexy red maid outfit. Interesting. Actually, LV Liang was often confused as well. Even though they had been together for so long, her younger sister, Serena, was much more mischievous. However, as long as she put on an act, she would be exactly the same as her older sister. She would often get one wrong, but it was precisely this feeling that made her feel good. You guys will never understand how great it is to be the subordinate of a supreme being. Not only is this boss valiant, he also knows how to find wives for his subordinates. Where else can you find such a good boss? There isn't one in this entire world. Yihua slowly sat on the chair. Serena respectfully poured fine wine for Yihua, and her big sister Serena was at the side arranging the tableware. Mu Ran stood at the side, looking at the endless snow. Reporting to my emperor. We'll be there in an hour. White Bone's voice suddenly resounded in the air. This gave Mu Ran a fright. She didn't know where this person was talking to. Just how many powerful subordinates did the emperor have? Got it. This subordinate will take his leave. Yihua looked at the delicacies in front of him. All of them were made by the blood demon. Right now, these delicacies are becoming more and more in line with my taste. Especially this jianbing fruit, the taste is exactly the same as the jianbing fruit, and the jianbing fruit has a bit of warmth to it. This blood demon sure knows how to make me happy. Mu Ran, sit. Yihua said faintly. I wouldn't dare. If I tell you to sit, then sit. Do you really have to make this empress unhappy? Yihua said in a low voice. The matters at home are already vexing enough, and today, I finally have a chance to change my mood. Mu Ran muttered in her heart as she slowly sat down beside him. Eat. Yihua said indifferently, then picked up a pancake that had eggs and ham added on. He took a big bite. How fragrant. Mu Ran also picked one up and handed it to Blue Sky Red. Yihua and the Blood Tribe sisters naturally saw this action of hers. TSK. It seemed that Mu Ran had taken it to heart. However, Sun Konghong was still in a daze. He was so stupid that he could die. Mu Ran lightly took a bite, and felt that this strange food was indeed delicious. I really want to ask how this food is made, and in the future, I can also make it for her. Thinking of this, Mu Ran shook her head. How could she think like this? Mu Ran, when they come later on, what are you going to do? Yihua finished off Mu Ran in 1 or 2 moves, then leaned on the throne and asked casually. Mu Ran paused and said, "Your Majesty, please believe in Mu Ran." "Alright, this Empress will believe you this once. But what if they insisted on attacking? You think you can stop an army of 300,000? Or is it safer for me to keep you here?" Mu Ran remained silent after hearing what the Emperor said. What the Emperor said is right. If I am here, they might not make a move, but if I am outside, they will be able to make a move without any restraints. Yihua looked at Mu Ran and seemed to be a bit silent, then said faintly, "I am naturally not afraid of them. It is fine for me to keep all of them here today. I want their blood to dye this snowfield red. What a magnificent scene that would be." After hearing what the Emperor said, Mu Ran felt that the Emperor was bragging. 300,000 people, how can you possibly stop them? "Your Majesty, just let Mu Ran give it a try. Mu Ran will use my life as a guarantee." Yihua laughed. "Mu Ran, are you saying that if I fail, your life will belong to me?" "That's right, Mu Ran will definitely be able to persuade them to retreat." "Alright. I will believe you this once, but Mu Ran, let me tell you this. If you fail, then don't blame me for being ruthless. These 300,000 people cannot be returned." Yihua said coldly, and a surge of killing intent immediately erupted out from his body. Mu Ran said respectfully, "Mu Ran understands." Just that, Mu Ran didn't take Yihua's last few sentences to heart. "I thought that it was the Emperor's joke, and I can only rely on myself to convince them." Suddenly, black dots appeared on the snowfield that stretched as far as the eye could see. Looking at these black dots, Yihua was a bit excited. "They are finally here." "That's right, the people who are coming are from Guda Principality." The fourth prince, Feng Yun, was riding his horse at the front, and his expression was a bit astonished. Not only Feng Yun, Ding Wenba and Xia Yu who were at the side were the same as well. There were even a lot of soldiers who were rubbing their eyes, as if they were looking at a mirage. "This is Lingtai Kingdom," Xia Yu said in disbelief. "In my memory, Lingtai Kingdom's walls were made of wood, but looking at the walls right now, the walls are dazzling with gold and jade. The walls are 300 meters tall, and the imposing aura it gives off makes people feel intimidated. This is simply even more majestic than Guda Principality. If I were to take over Lingtai Kingdom and become the king of Lingtai Kingdom, how awesome would that be?" "Xia Yu, is this really Lingtai Kingdom?" Feng Yun mumbled, not daring to believe what he saw. Replying to General, "This is indeed Lingtai Kingdom," Xia Yu said respectfully from behind. "Unbelievable." Ding Bowen muttered with a face filled with astonishment. After the astonishment, Feng Yun revealed a light smile. "I was just worrying about not having a good city. After I take over Lingtai Kingdom, I will be able to use the city for myself. As for this Xia Yu, after making use of him, I will be able to leave with a peace of mind. Dying on the battlefield, this idea isn't bad." Very quickly, the 100,000 strong army entered into the shooting range of the bow and arrow and stopped. Yihua waved his hand, and an old man picked up an ordinary bow and arrow, then pulled the bow and shot the arrow in one go. Everyone looked at the bow and arrow drawing a beautiful arc in the air. After that, the arrow landed 3 meters away from Feng Yun's horse. Feng Yun immediately burst into laughter. His laughter caused everyone behind him to burst into laughter as well. Amidst the laughter, a row of white-armored soldiers shouted towards the sky. "Those who cross the line, die." Right after Feng Yun finished speaking, the drummers at the back started beating the drums. Dong, dong, dong. The drumming sounds were earth-shattering, seemingly piercing through the entire world, causing everyone to be excited. Even the commoners in the city wanted to rush out and fight on the battlefield when they heard the drumming sounds. Of course, this was bad news for the enemy. Their laughter was drowned out by the drumming sounds, and when the enemy heard the drumming sounds, their morale immediately dropped by a lot. Chapter 778. Just as Feng Yun was scolding himself for not bringing a band with him, a black sound suddenly rang out. The sound was so loud that it actually overpowered the sound of the drums. Yihua stood up with a smile on his face. Battleship. This is a bit interesting. I haven't seen this thing for a long time, I really miss it a bit. Mu Ran, who was at the side, also looked towards the sky with a taut face. The people from Tianliang sect are here. Feng Yun raised his head and stared at the dark sky, his brows slightly wrinkled. This seems to be the sound of the battleship's horn. General. This should be the people from Tianliang sect. Ding Wenba, who was at the back, reminded softly. Feng Yun really didn't expect that the people from Tianliang sect would also want to get a share of the loot. Right now, I am still relatively weak, I cannot let Wuliang sect discover anything. But to Xiaoyu, the more people the better, this way, it will be more stable. Suddenly, 10 enormous battleships surged down from the clouds. As if they had broken through the clouds, they brought along traces of clouds and mist. This kind of scene was very spectacular, and it was very ostentatious. The 10 battleships were arranged neatly, just like an enormous tortoise shell in the sky. The flag of Wuliang sect was hung on the poles, and there seemed to be a lot of people standing on the deck. They were densely packed. At the start, these people were very excited, but after seeing the scene, they became astonished. From the sky, one could have a good view of Wushu Empire. The first feeling. The second feeling. The second feeling. The big. The third feeling. The long. Is this Wushu Empire? Is this still an empire? This is simply even grander than my Tianliang sect. Looking at this dazzling city and that towering palace, this is undoubtedly showing off my heroism. Especially that city wall, it is so tall, when people stand below it, they are just like ants. Ma Ji and Fang Meiying, who were leading the group, were a bit astonished. Hearing Yunting say it was one thing, but seeing it for themselves was another thing. At the start, they even felt that Yunting was exaggerating a bit, but looking at it now, they realized that Yunting was not exaggerating at all. Furthermore, Yunting even said it tactfully, fearing that he would hurt Tianliang sect's morale. Elder Fang, this Wushu Empire is not ordinary. Ma Ji lightly stroked his beard and said faintly while staring at the man who was wearing an emperor robe on the city wall. Fang Meiying nodded silently. Elder Ma, we should be more cautious. Mu Ran is still in their hands. Yes, but it's a good thing that the Duchy of Gouda is here. Ma Ji smirked. Those people could be used as cannon fodder. Fang Meiying knew what Ma Ji meant, so she silently agreed. If it was really a trap, the ones who would die would be those ordinary people. Her own sect's disciples wouldn't have to die. Come down. Fang Meiying said indifferently. She did not choose to enter through the air because she had a bad premonition. If they attacked from the sky, they would be too densely packed. As long as they destroyed 10 of the battle arcs, they would be finished. Yihua looked at the battleship that was slowly descending, and a dense mass of people walked down from the battleship. The number of people walking down from the battleship was double that of the people in Gouda Principality. Looking at the battleship from the top of the city wall, the scene was indeed a bit spectacular. Do you recognize all of these people? Yihua asked curiously. Mu Ran nodded and said, I know them all. Introduce them to me. Mu Ran exhaled deeply. The general of Gouda Principality is 4th Prince Feng Yun. Feng Yun, what do you think of this person? Feng Yun is the most outstanding among the princes, and the king also has the intention to give the position of crown prince to Feng Yun. Mu Ran said respectfully. I understand now, this Feng Yun wants to come back and become the crown prince. His idea is not bad, just that, he doesn't use his brain. Yihua lightly leaned on the city wall and looked at Mu Ran with a playful expression. Mu Ran remained silent. This emperor is so smart, he guessed it so quickly. What about the people from Tianliang sect? Mu Ran said gravely, the people from Tianliang sect are my teacher, Fang Meiying, and Ma Ji, Elder Ma. Since your teacher is here, you have to persuade them, if not, your teacher is going to fall here today. I am not joking with you. Yihua said indifferently while looking down at the army that was not far away. With 300,000 people lined up, the scene is truly grand. However, it is useless to have so many people, I can deal with them with just a snap of my fingers. However, that is too easy for you all. Without any fluctuations in your hearts, how can you all display despair and fear? Hearing what Yihua said, Mu Ran was a little unconvinced and said lightly, my teacher is a rank 1 Do Huang, and Elder Ma is also at the peak of the King realm, he is also just a step away from becoming a Do Huang. Alright, stop explaining, in my eyes, they are all the same, salted fish. Yihua said indifferently. Mu Ran pursed her lips. This is the most boastful emperor that I have ever seen. On the other side, Feng Yun jumped down from his horse and obediently came to the front of Tianliang sect's army. I am Guda Principality's 4th Prince Feng Yun, greetings to the two seniors. After Feng Yun finished speaking, he cupped his hands. He was very low-key and did not have the airs of a prince at all. However, in his heart, he secretly swore, I will return this scene to you all sooner or later. I, Feng Yun, am a transmigrator with a system, the heavens have destined that I will become popular in the entire Kangluo continent. Ma Ji took a look at Feng Yun, then ignored him. On the other hand, Fang Meiying nodded her head towards Feng Yun, Guda Principality sure is considerate. Of course, of course. Feng Yun lowered his head and replied while cursing in his heart. Afterward, Feng Yun felt awkward. The other party seemed to have stopped talking, and I have been lowering my head like this, it seems like I am a joke. Furthermore, I am doing this in front of 300,000 soldiers, I have truly lost all my face. Elder Ma, could it be that this is a trap? As a woman, Fang Meiying was rather vigilant. Ma Ji didn't act impulsively and said to Feng Yun, go and get someone to pass the message. Feng Yun didn't dare to say anything and directly obeyed the order. In his heart, he wished that he could get rid of these two fellows. After returning to his own camp, Feng Yun immediately called Xia Yu. General, what's the matter? Xia Yu shouted out respectfully. It's nothing big, I just want you to go and pass the message. Feng Yun said faintly, and his expression wasn't very good. Ah! Xia Yu cried out in surprise. Isn't this a big matter? This is equivalent to sending someone to die. Feng Yun's gaze turned cold, what? Are you thinking of disobeying a military order? I don't dare. Xia Yu hurriedly lowered his head and replied. Disobeying a military order would result in death, but passing the message might not result in death. This 4th prince is trying to get someone else to do his dirty work. If it's so vicious. Xia Yu didn't have any other choice and asked, 4th prince, what do I want to ask? Just have them hand over Mu Ran. Alright. Xia Yu rode on his horse and looked at the city wall in front of him. He had a strange feeling that he was going to die soon. Also, that arrow, just now, it said that those who pass the arrow will die, I wonder if that is true or not. Chapter 779. Right now, Xia Yu was trembling with fear. If tens of thousands of arrows were to shoot at him, he would definitely be turned into a hornet's nest. Just thinking about it made his scalp numb. Yihua looked at Xia Yu who walked out from the army. Who is this person? He is the former royal family of Lingtai country. Mu Ran said lightly. Those who didn't know would have thought that the two of them were together. They were actually chatting casually. Yihua understood. So that's the case. Interesting. Yihua waved his hand towards Serena who was behind him. The latter ignored him and immediately started making arrangements. Xia Yu rode his horse and arrived at the center of the city. The cold wind caused his arms to become stiff. He could only look up at the 300 m tall city wall. Just as Xia Yu was panicking, the war drums suddenly sounded out again. The war drums this time were different from before. The war drums brought along a very impassioned mood. Flags could be seen being erected on the city wall. Along with the cold wind, an enormous pressure immediately swept over. How could the warhorse that Xia Yu was riding on endure such an imposing aura? It immediately became very agitated. Xia Yu accidentally fell off the warhorse and landed on the snowy ground. He was in a sorry state, and the warhorse immediately ran away. Seeing this scene, Yihua revealed a smile of disdain. Truly a little weak, unable to be brought onto the stage. Xia Yu, who landed on the snowy ground, was very embarrassed. His originally pale face had now become red. Right now, I can only walk up. With heavy footsteps, Xia Yu gradually walked to the city gate and discovered a problem. Even if I shout till my throat breaks, the people on the city gate won't be able to hear me. Just as Xia Yu was thinking of a way, the huge city gate actually slowly opened. This caused Xia Yu to unconsciously take a step back. The battle is imminent, and they actually opened the city gate. What is the meaning of this? Right now, Ma Ji and Fang Meiying were also very puzzled. They didn't understand the other party's intention. This is too careless, isn't it? Everyone looked at the city gate, seemingly wanting to see who would appear. However, everyone was about to be disappointed. The person that appeared was not a human, it was a husky. Sending out a dog. Is this a mockery from Wushu Empire? The 300,000 troops were burning with rage. This is a blatant mockery. To send out a dog to negotiate, this is too much. Mu Ran also saw that Yun Lang had walked out. She was puzzled. Yun Lang was looking down on the emperor. Why would the emperor do this? This would infuriate the other party. Even if she wanted to reconcile later, it would be impossible. Letting a dog out, His Majesty. Mu Ran couldn't help but ask curiously. Yihua took a look at Mu Ran, then said faintly, "This is already thinking very highly of them." Mu Ran did not speak. She was thinking about what she was going to say later. Below, Xia Yu saw a dog walking towards him. That silver fur, those strange eyes, seemed to be revealing something. He couldn't move at all. What kind of dog was this? How could it have such an ability? Yun Lang circled around Xia Yu and sniffed the air out of conditioned reflex. After that, he discovered that, why did I have to sniff the air? I am not a real dog, I am a fake dog. Seems like I have gotten used to being a dog recently, and all of my actions are subconscious. Yun Lang gave Xia Yu a disdainful gaze and slightly raised his head. This was the contempt of a king. Suppressing the panic in his heart, Xia Yu yelled, "Let Mu Ran go. I'll spare your lives." Yihua was naturally able to hear Mu Ran's words and said with a smile, "This person's tone is rather big. What do you think, Mu Ran?" Mu Ran did not speak. She felt that she wasn't a hostage at all, but rather an accomplice. Yun Lang shook his head. "Seems like you can't do it, change to another one." In order to achieve fairness, Yun Lang took small steps and walked towards the 300,000 strong army, and his gaze emitted out a different kind of coldness. Death gaze. Xia Yu hurriedly turned around and ran. His words had also arrived. At this moment, the scene became strange. Yun Lang walked over with his head held high and chest puffed out, while Xia Yu was panicking and would even fall down from time to time. This made the 300,000 strong army blush with shame, and they wished that they could kill this fellow who lost his imposing manner. Look at other people's dogs, shouldn't you learn from their footwork? Just like that, I lost the first round. Humans can't be compared to dogs. Not long later, Yun Lang arrived in front of the 300,000 strong army, and as if he was inspecting his own army, it made everyone want to eat dog meat. After all, in this freezing weather, having a plate of dog meat should be very refreshing. This dog is a little strange. Ma Ji said gravely. Fang Meiying also felt it. Although she couldn't put her finger on it, but this dog was definitely not an ordinary dog. Yun Lang could be seen stopping in front of Fang Meiying, then turning around, he raised his leg and gestured, seemingly wanting Fang Meiying to follow him. Don't go. Ma Ji said in a low voice. Fang Meiying paused for a moment. Don't worry, nothing will happen. Towards this kind of dog, Fang Meiying was also very puzzled, but she didn't take action to kill it. If she took action just now, the situation should be even more joyous. If that was the case, Yun Lang would be able to have a full meal. Yun Lang walked at the front, and Fang Meiying followed behind unhurriedly. Fang Meiying appeared to be very confident. After all, she was the strongest out of everyone. Rank 1 Do Huang. Yun Lang directly brought Fang Meiying into the city, and soon after, the city gate closed. The 300,000-strong army was filled with admiration in their hearts. As expected of an elder of Tianliang sect, just this kind of spirit, who can have it? Charging into a tiger's den alone. Awesome! When Mu Ran, who was on the city gate tower, saw that her master had entered, she became very excited, not knowing what the emperor was doing. Yi Hua asked indifferently, "You are going to meet with master soon, are you very happy?" "Your Majesty." "Just what are you trying to do?" Mu Ran completely didn't know, but at the same time, she really wanted to know. Yi Hua didn't speak and lightly leaned on the city wall, waiting for Fang Meiying to come up. Fang Meiying, who was following behind Yun Lang, was also very puzzled. This dog seems to be bringing me to meet the emperor. Could it be that he isn't afraid that I will directly kill the emperor? Or could it be that he isn't afraid at all? Should I make a move and kill the emperor later on? I have to think about it now. The city gate tower that was 300 meters tall wasn't that easy to climb. After quite a while, Yun Lang brought Fang Meiying to the top of the city wall. Then, Yun Lang squatted at the side and guarded. "Teacher," Mu Ran shouted out excitedly and immediately pounced into Fang Meiying's embrace. Yi Hua looked at Mu Ran and did not stop Mu Ran. After all, the reason why he called Mu Ran up to Fang Meiying was because he wanted to see the relationship between the two of them. "Ran, are you alright?" Fang Meiying asked concernedly as she stroked onto Mu Ran's hair. Mu Ran nodded her head. "Master, I am very good. The emperor treats me very well too." Speaking of the emperor, Fang Meiying raised her head and looked towards Yi Hua. "The impression that this person gives me is a bit frivolous. As an emperor, he is actually slightly leaning on the wall, and he doesn't have any poise at all. Other than that kind of handsome face of his, he is still somewhat useful. Also, the two women that are at the side, their attire is so revealing, with just a look, they are definitely not good people." Chapter 780. Should he just kill him now? No. He was an elder of the Wuliang sect. If he were to kill him in this situation, he would definitely be laughed at. After all, the emperor had invited him here, and if he were to kill him, it would be very shameful. After all, the other party looked very weak. Fang Meiying stood in front of Mu Ran and looked at Yi Hua vigilantly. Yi Hua said faintly, "Don't be nervous, I won't harm you." Fang Meiying was speechless. "I'm considering whether or not I should hurt you. But you said you wouldn't hurt me. Where did your confidence come from?" "Teacher, nothing will happen," Mu Ran said. Mu Ran seemed to have a lot of trust in Yi Hua. When Fang Meiying heard Ran-er's words, she immediately felt that something was wrong. Why was Ran-er speaking up for the other party? Was he under some kind of spell? Fang Meiying quickly held Mu Ran's hand and checked her physical condition. Yi Hua did not stop them and waited quietly. "Master, I'm fine." "I'm fine," Mu Ran whispered. Fang Meiying was very confused. Ran was actually fine, but this was too abnormal. "I rather admire this disciple of yours," Yi Hua said faintly. "What do you want?" Fang Meiying asked coldly. Yi Hua laughed lightly. "You all brought people to my territory, and you all are asking me what I want to do. There's something wrong with your logic." Of course I'm here to look for my disciple. Fang Meiying said in a deep voice. Is that so? Then, does this emperor understand that once we bring the hostage away, you all will retreat? Yi Hua asked faintly. Fang Meiying frowned slightly and did not reply. At this time, Mu Ran hurriedly advised, Master, the emperor has already promised to let me go. Don't attack. That's right. Mu Ran is right. After all, these are 300,000 lives. Although it looks good to dye the snow red, it's too cruel. Mu Ran was speechless and hurriedly explained, Master, His Majesty didn't mean that. Her disciple had repeatedly interceded with the emperor, causing Fang Meiying to be in a bad mood. The most urgent thing to do now was to take Ran Er away. I'm taking him away. If you want to stop me, then come and try, Fang Meiying said coldly and grabbed Mu Ran's hand. Sure. Yi Hua didn't plan to force Mu Ran to stay. Follow Master. Teacher, wait a moment. Mu Ran hurriedly said to Yi Hua, Your Majesty, Yi Hua knew what Mu Ran wanted to say, don't worry, I won't go so far as to make things difficult for ordinary people. Mu Ran nodded, looked at Sun Konghong behind her, and reached out to hold her hand. This action made Fang Meiying's face sink. This strong man was wearing an iron mask. What was his relationship with Mu Ran? Thousands of curses floated out from Sun Konghong's heart. This Mu Ran actually grabbed my hand in front of so many people. He really wanted to shake it off. But his honor has given me an order, I can't shake him off, Master, he saved me twice, Mu Ran explained. Fang Meiying glanced at Sun Konghong and flew back to her camp with the two of them. Looking at the three people leaving, a trace of a smile appeared on the corner of Yi Hua's mouth. When the 300,000 soldiers saw that Elder Fang had brought them out, they immediately cheered in victory. Elder Fang was truly amazing. This was the first time he had seen someone being taken away by the emperor. This emperor is definitely afraid and doesn't dare to offend the mighty Tianliang sect. When Feng Yun saw that Mu Ran was brought back, he slightly wrinkled his brows, seemingly not very happy. Why did the other party let Mu Ran go so easily? Could it be that the other party is really afraid of Wuliang sect? This is not a good thing. Tianliang sect brought so many people over, how could they possibly leave so easily? Could it be that Tianliang sect wants to take this city for themselves as well? Feng Yun's guess was indeed correct. Before Tianliang sect came over, Tianliang sect didn't have any thoughts of taking over the city, they only wanted to exterminate the city. However, right now, Tianliang sect wants to take over the city as well. After all, this Wushu Empire is truly magnificent. If Tianliang sect were to move over to Wushu Empire, it would also be something that would gain face for Wushu Empire. After returning to the camp, Mu Ran shouted out respectfully towards Ma Ji, Elder Ma. Ma Ji smiled slightly, Mu Ran, it's good that you are fine. Mu Ran feels guilty for making Master and Elder Ma worried. Ma Ji smiled, then began discussing something with Fang Meiying. Meanwhile, Mu Ran was very puzzled. Didn't Master say that we are leaving? Master, what are you doing? Aren't we going back? Mu Ran asked confusedly. Fang Meiying looked at her disciple and said gravely, Mu Ran, do you know how your senior brother died? Mu Ran nodded her head and said in a low voice, Mu Ran heard about it. Senior brother trespassed into Wushu Empire's airspace and was killed. However, senior sister is fine. Hearing what Mu Ran said, Fang Meiying and Ma Ji were a bit stupefied. Are you blaming your senior brother for trespassing into someone else's territory? Mu Ran. Do you know what you are saying? Fang Meiying reprimanded coldly. Mu Ran also knew that what she said just now was wrong, and felt that she was speaking up for Wushu Empire. Master, I didn't mean it like that, but if we were to fight today, someone would definitely die, Mu Ran doesn't want. Before Mu Ran could finish speaking, Ma Ji said gravely, Mu Ran. Today, we are not only here to save you. We are also here to redeem Tianliang sect's dignity. But Master, just now, you already agreed, shut up. Are you their people or mine? Feng Meiying shouted out, and she even wanted to slap Muran. Ma Ji said faintly, Muran, in such a small place, do you think that someone would die? In just a few minutes, we would trample over this place. Master. But just now, you clearly promised the emperor that you would. Slap. Feng Meiying still couldn't help but slap Muran. Zhang Konghong, who was standing at the side, moved slightly, but in the end, she still stopped and didn't make a move. I am here to protect Muran. Meanwhile, Muran held onto her face and looked at Master in disbelief. This is the first time that Master has slapped me. Muran. Look at your position clearly before talking to Master. Feng Meiying shouted out. Muran became silent. I finally know why that emperor said that. What he said is right, even if I come out, they still wouldn't leave, because I am just an excuse for them to mobilize their troops. Yi Hua, who was standing on the city wall, saw everything. Little Muran, you are really pitiful, you got slapped by Master, right? You really don't know how to look at the situation, I still need to learn more. Seeing that it was about time, Yi Hua slowly walked down the stairs. Within the army, Feng Yun stood respectfully in front of Feng Meiying and Ma Ji. In his heart, Feng Yun was scolding Feng Meiying for being so shameless, to actually want to let our own people become cannon fodder, but right now, other than agreeing to it, I don't have any other choice. Muran, who was standing at the side, didn't have any other choice. This magnificent Wushu Empire is going to be occupied. I can't let them retreat and deceive the emperor. If I am still in his hands, it might be a bit better. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.